that John? Yeah, I'd like to call to order Wednesday, September 28th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. It is now 6:32. On a roll call for a quorum, Mr. Kenny.
Here.
Mr. Burke. Here. Mr. Reyes.
Here.
Mr. Price. Here. Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Mrs. Elderkin.
Here.
Secretary Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Kalunian is excused tonight. Chairman Flynn is here. We have a quorum of 8. We please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic and one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have approval of minutes, August 24th. I know there was some corrections on that. Could I entertain a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes, August 24th, 2022.
I have a motion by Mr. Kenny. Do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Elderkin. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries on the minutes. Okay, before I start the ratifications, Dave, there's always some confusion on ratifications, especially if you voted against the project. We have a couple of new members. Could you just give a brief explanation of the ratification?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. So the ratification of decision is the process by which the decision typically made at a prior meeting and reduced to writing gets put back in front of the board. And the board ratifies it. And those timeframes or the timing of those things have to do with timeframes under the statute and under the subdivision regulations. So after the ratification, that's when the decision becomes active or final. The purpose of ratification is to ensure that the decision that you made as members of the Planning Commission is accurately reflected in the written materials that are drafted. So even if you voted against a particular project, let's say you voted no when the motion was made to approve a project on Main Street, you voted no. When it comes to ratification, you are not required to vote against the ratification just because you voted no on the project. The real question is, does the decision as written comport with what was, the motions and the discussion and the decision that was made when the matter came in front of the Planning Commission at the public hearing? So even if you voted against a particular application, you can vote to approve the ratification as long as you were here and it comports with what you recall occurred.
Correctly.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's the best. If it was written correctly, you can vote for it.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. All right. Having that said, we're going to go to number 6 on ratifications of decisions. Hammett Preserve, it's a ratification of a decision of a preliminary plan approval, 2-lot minor, AP 323, lot 60 R3. Do I have a motion to ratify?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, to ratify.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second. Go ahead.
I have a second by Mr. Reyes. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Ratification is approved on the Hammett Preserve. Number 2, Steve's Bounce House. It's owner P&R Properties LLC. It's 1,000 square foot office building, 2 5,000 square foot storage buildings in the center of New England. Entertain a motion for ratification on Steve's Bounce House.
I'll make a motion to ratify Steve Bounce House.
I have a motion by Mr. Reyes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mr. Burke. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, ratification carries. Okay, 6.3 Hopkins Hollow. Ratification of a decision of a preliminary plan approval of a major residential 7-lot cluster subdivision, AP 304, Lot 28, Zone RR5, 323 Hopkins Hollow Road. I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for recommendation.
I have a motion by Mr. Kenny. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
Aye.
Ratification.
Nay.
You nay. Okay, we have one opposed. So we have an approval of the ratification of Hopkins Hollow. Okay. Okay, we have a recommendation to town council. 7.1, 96 Tile Avenue, owner Joanne A. Plant, applicant John Vixvich. Applicant is requesting a town council approval to a zone change from an R20 residential half acre to a general business. AP 32 lot 78, zone R20. Is there anybody here representing the applicant? Come on up. Name and address, please.
Joanne Plant, 96 Tyoke Avenue.
John Vitkevich, 119 Hummock Avenue, Portsmouth, Rhode Island. With someone.
If you just want to give a brief summary of.
If it's okay, Mr. Chairman, we'll do history first.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I am the fourth generation to live on that property. When my great-grandfather, Pierre Bellevaux, came down from Quebec, he bought the farm, which was about roughly 80 acres at that time, from a Mr. Duffy. They just called it the Duffy Farm. It became the Bellevaux Farm. Mr. Bellevaux, my great-grandfather, had 9 children. When these children grew up, they didn't want to be too far away from their relatives. So he started to section off some of the farm. He would either sell them a half acre or an acre. He sold my grandfather Plant, an acre, and that's the acre that I'm living on now. At the time, they put a shack, a small 3-room shack, because my father and my brothers, they wanted them to be able to come up to the farm on weekends and help out. And they needed a place to stay. Everybody couldn't stay in the farmhouse because they had so many children. So they stayed there. My father went in the service. He came out in 1945. He met my mother. Well, he fell in love with my mother in 46 and they married, and they needed a place to live. So they looked at some property on Arnold Road and around in the neighborhood. But in the end, it was too expensive. They didn't have a chance to save money. He had just been out of the service for 9 months. So what happened, he went to his parents and he said, "Can I buy the shack? I'm the youngest. Nobody's going to go there anymore. I'd like to live there." My grandparents said yes. So my parents took out a mortgage and bought the property from my grandmother, my grandfather Plant. And my mother and father lived there until they died. My father died in 2006. My mother passed away last year. She had a massive stroke on Mother's Day, and 2 days later, she died in hospice. So when my father died, everything reverted to my mother. My mother died, everything reverts to me. So I've been living there like practically my whole life. And it's just becoming too much for me. I'm alone, living there alone. And, you know, with the price of everything, the taxes and the economy and everything, when you're retired and you're on a retirement income, you can't afford the maintenance to cut the grass, snow plowing, etc. When I cut the grass, he comes every 3 weeks, it's $200. And he's the cheapest person that I could find. And he's from Coventry. The same thing with the snow plow. If it doesn't snow, I'm happy because then I don't have to pay him. But if it snows, he comes twice and sometimes 3 times. So it gets to be very, very expensive. And there's no time of the year when you could save money because the grass cutting stops in October, but then the snow starts in December. So it's like I can never get ahead. So I decided, and it was terrible decision to make for me being the 4th generation, but I decided to sell the property. And at first I was just going to sell it for residential. It's just shy of an acre of land. It's on Tyoke Avenue, got a lot of frontage. It's got the sewer that goes right by the door and all the utilities and everything. But then I thought, you know, all these housing developments off of Tyoke Avenue, I don't think we need another housing development. So John is, thank you. So John is my realtor, and he came up with the idea. He said, well, why don't we do veteran housing just for the veterans? Okay, because we don't have any of that in Rhode Island, and we would be the first one here in Coventry to do that. So he started working on that. And several months later, everybody's on board with this. but nobody has any money for it. Nobody wants to commit to anything. So I said to him, well, I can't live here 5 years until somebody decides, because I'm going to end up bankrupt and foreclosed, and I don't want that. So then we started to brainstorm again. And he said, well, how about general business? And I said, yeah, well, there's businesses across the street and there's businesses on the West Warwick side. So, maybe that's the angle that we should go with and bring some new business to Coventry, whatever it is. It'll be jobs. They'll use local services, because the problem that I see living on Tioga Avenue, people come home from work or they're working from home. They say, oh, I don't feel like cooking tonight. Let's go out. They go right by my house. They go to West Warwick, East Greenwich. They go to the restaurants. They go shop. The money that we have in Coventry is always spent in another town. It's not spent here. And so that really bothers me, because like some of the problems that we have in town, I think if we had more business, it would kind of balance it out a little bit. So that's why we're asking for a rezoning just for general business, nothing spectacular, but just general business.
Right, and the board's task is to make a recommendation to the council. The
Right.
council is the only
Right,
entity that can change those.
right.
So that's what we're here for tonight. So you want to go from a R20 to a general business?
Yes.
My
Okay.
turn.
Anybody on the board have any questions for the applicant?
What are businesses right across the street from you?
Okay, we have West Warwick.
Okay. I was just trying to place it in my mind.
And then the next one over there, that big cinder block building. Okay, we have family
The karate
lots.
place.
We have a tattoo parlor. We
Yep.
have a dance studio. And then going up in Coventry from there, it used to be Arctic Roofing when I was a little girl, but right now they just do it into the house here. So technically it's a business storage.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Go ahead.
Thank you. What Joanne said about, looking at it from a housing standpoint versus general business, it just highest and best use for Joanne, for the lot, for a buyer, for the town of Coventry. It's beneficial. We all know that, residential has a cost to it. School department, So making that general business, there's only a small house. Do you folks have this map?
I've been by.
Right. Okay, there's only a small house on it. So it's like, and I'm probably going to take that house and bring it to a farm that I know of on the other side. So it's not like we have to demolish a lot of stuff. It just makes good sense for the town of Coventry as well as for Joanne.
I agree. It fits in the location.
Right. And I have to say, she's under contract up in Millinocket, Maine. Okay. So she says, oh, can we get this done? And I said, well, we have to do it by, and that gentleman right there, you guys, you got a rock star here with the new planner. I'm just telling you that right up front. Okay. Like that, because he guided me through your process.
Turning red over there.
But he guided me through the process of going to the council, and we were at the council Monday night, and we're here to see you. So I'm just going to ask your board if you agree with our recommendation to change it to general business, that you make that recommendation as quickly as possible. And I am looking for low impact businesses, banks, doctors' offices, something that's going to support the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for a recommendation to the town council for a zone change.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'll make a recommendation to the a favorable recommendation to the town council for a zone change. Owner applicant, Joanne Plant and John Vitt applicant, 96 Tioga Ave, assessors plot 32, lot 78, zone R20, lot size 0.98 acres, single family residential. The owner applicant is requesting a zone district amendment from residential to general business. It is looking at the area, it's in general consistency with the comprehensive plan, as there are other businesses located across and next to the piece of property. It meets all other applicable elements of the comprehensive plan. And consideration, as I said, that that the area is not something out of the ordinary for that area. So it will have minimal impact. And I'd like to include the staff reports in my recommendation.
Okay, I have a recommendation, Mr. Kenny. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a second by Mr. Race. All those in favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Aye. Any
Mr.
opposed?
Chairman,
Yes.
point of order.
Yes.
Sorry, before, if you just sort of hold off on that vote, please, because the amendment process for that we're dealing with does require that you refer the proposal to staff upon receipt from the town council, because you need to provide the findings and recommendations back to the council. So I know that you may be ready to deal with that, but my suggestion based on what you're voting on is that essentially you ask staff to help in preparing the findings that Mr. Kenny is referring to, so that we can at least meet the general intent of what the process is in our regulation for amendment. So that you can still take that particular vote, but really what we'll do is we'll draft something up that would go off to the council, unless you want to see it first before it goes off. That's where I really want to see the critical thing.
Does
But
this have to be ratified?
no, this does not have to be. Basically, what you do is you will send your recommendations and everything to the council. The council has 45 days from this past Monday to act on the proposal. I'm just adhering to what the actual amendment process is. So that's why I just want to make sure you understand that point of order, that you're supposed to technically refer it to us so that we can give you some advice in developing those recommendations. You're clearly ready to move forward. I understand that. So maybe it's just to encourage, to ask staff to prepare that recommendation for you based on tonight's discussion. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Okay.
Kenny, would you like to amend that?
I'll amend my motion to ask for staff's input on the findings and recommendations according to the zone change,
To the process.
to adhere to the process for a zone change.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
By Mr. Race. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Okay, we have a recommendation to zoning board for special use permit Ferry 17 Brentwood Drive, applicant Alfred Ferry Senior. Applicant is seeking a special use permit to attach an existing garage to the single-family dwelling by way of a new two-story addition to the second floor above the garage. AP 38 lot 14, zone R20. Is there anybody here representing the applicant? For Ferretti, 17 Brentwood Drive.
Mr. Chair, somebody's raising their hand on Zoom. I think they might be here for the applicant.
Can we take testimony via Zoom on a recommendation? I mean, I don't know if that's the person that's,
We have in the past.
I know, but Dave, what do you think? Because I don't know if that's the person that's.
You can, you've done it in the past. You can do it in the past because this is a recommendation. You certainly can ask questions. The issue is always swearing in the applicant and affirming the testimony that's given. But I think you can review the staff report. You could, hear from the applicant and you'll make your recommendation. And I think that's okay this evening to do that.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, can you bring, can you hear me?
Lori, can you hear us?
Hello,
Hi, name and address for the record, please.
Alfred Ferretti, 17 Brentwood Drive, Coventry, Rhode Island, 02816.
I can't hear that.
I can't understand him. I can hear him.
No.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
That's better. Can you increase your volume somewhat?
I'm going to try.
Thank you.
that better?
That's better. Thank you very much.
Thank
You
you.
just- Brief presentation on what you want to do? This
First
is-
off, I apologize. I got it, an email that said you had to be there through Zoom. I would have been there in person. I
Name and
apologize.
address, please. Name and address, please.
Alfred Ferretti, 17 Brentwood Drive, Coventry, Rhode Island, 02816.
Thank you, Mr. Ferretti. Do you just want to explain to the board what you want to do?
Yes, sir. We want to, right now we have a detached garage. My wife and I moved in with my father after my mother passed. And we are looking to put our bedroom over the garage. And what we're gonna attach to the garage from the second floor is gonna be like a living space for my wife and I. And also offices, because we both work from home. And we're looking to just put our bedroom over the garage and just add like a little bit of a living space for me, so we can take care of my father and my disabled brother.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Ferretti, you're staying within the same footprint of the existing building, correct?
Yes, sir. No,
Okay.
we're not going any out of any between the house and the garage. We're not going any wider, any longer. We're just gonna build above.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ferretti, did you say you were adding a bedroom?
No, we taking the existing bedroom we are in right now. We're gonna make this a family room and just move our bedroom over above the garage.
Okay, so the septic is adequate?
Yes, sir.
You're not
That's what
changing
we're
any bedroom on the number of bedrooms?
No, sir.
Okay. Anybody else on the board have any questions? Go ahead.
I read in here that you're also adding like a breezeway connecting the main house to the garage. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, we are.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just want to follow up, Mr. Chair, Mr.
Go ahead.
Ferretti. How many bedrooms in that house right now?
There are 3 currently.
Right, so you're just gonna, you're gonna turn a bedroom and just call it a den or a living room now?
Yes, that's what it's gonna be, like a living space for me and my wife, as like a living room, and then we're gonna move our bedroom over the garage.
Okay, and maybe it's a question for zoning because it's still a bedroom, but regardless of what you call it. Or building inspector. You know, the building inspector will review that. Just so, it's gonna come to a head because it's still, the room, you can call it what you want. It's still a bedroom. So, just going down the road, the septic might be an issue. I just want you to know that.
Okay, thank you.
If you eliminate the closet in that space, that living space, it would not be deemed a bedroom. So just food for thought.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for a recommendation to zoning for a special use permit.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion
Go ahead, Mr.
to favorable for Ferretti, 17 Brentwood Drive, special use permit, recommendation to the zoning board. Assessors plat 38, lot 114, zone R20, single family dwelling. So it's going to be a single family dwelling with an addition. So the applicant's seeking a special use permit to connect an existing house to an existing detached garage via a breezeway. So finding of fact, department analysis, property has permanent physical access to Brentwood Drive. Property's addition will not prevent safe egress and ingress. It's a dead end road. It's a cul-de-sac. The property has sufficient off-street parking. The property has adequate space for storage of trash. Currently it does. The applicant explained that there'll be no increase in bedrooms or people. Utilities are pre-existing. Additional screening and buffering is not required for this use. General compatibility. The adjacent properties are primarily single-family residential use. The existing use of the proposed addition is compatible with the abutting lots. General compatibility. Comprehensive plan encourages property owners to conduct home rehabilitation as required. This proposal is consistent with the comp plan. And if the applicant is issued a special use permit, The project should have no detrimental impacts to public health, safety, and morals. And I'll include the staff or director's report, which gave it a favorable recommendation.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Chair, I have a
yes.
question.
Can I get a second, then I can ask the discussion?
Yes, that's what I'm
I
saying.
have a second by Mr. Kenny. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Yes. Should we not add something on there basically saying that we should look at to make sure that it is legitimately 3 bedrooms? Because there's no utility study here. There's no, how do we know that it's going to keep up with the usage? And they can sell the house at any point, at any point in time, therefore leaving an inadequate system. I think that should really be.
It's a good point, but I think it's in the zoning.
Yeah, that's the-
I think it's.
That's in the zoning. Okay,
purview.
that's why I'm
It's up to
asking.
them.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. I think zoning will make that announcement.
Yes, I mean, I would expect the zoning board to look into those things as well. Everybody is aware of those concerns, and Mr. Anderson mentioned it to the applicant directly. So, yeah.
And for personal experience with my own house, the building inspector's office will look at it too. They'll pull the card on the property to see if the OTS supports how many bedrooms or where it is and what it should be.
Okay.
And when they do their inspections, they'll ensure that it's set up just for 3 bedrooms.
Okay. All right, thank
You good
you.
with that?
Yeah, I'm good with
All right,
that.
good
Thank
point.
you.
So I have a motion, I have a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Recommendation carries. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Okay, next on the agenda is a recommendation to zoning for special use permit 8.2 Marcotte 37 Hill Farm Camp Road. Applicant Scott Marcotte, owner same. Applicant seeking special use permit to demolish an existing home, build a new 2-bedroom dwelling with a 2-car garage, 50 feet from the rear property line where 90 feet is required, 8 feet 33 lot 6.13-37 RR2. Anybody here representing the applicant? Mr. Marcotte? Anybody on Zoom?
I'm John Rockwell from the Survey Company.
Come on up, John. Name and address, please.
John Rockwell, PLS, 46 South Main Street, Coventry. So Mr. Marcotte is looking for zoning relief in building a 2-bedroom house with a garage on a condominium lot as part of the Hill Farm Camp condominium project. And he meets all the requirements for zoning except for one, which is the rear setback. In this case, the rear line is actually Flat River resident. So the zoning requires that it be 90 feet, and they're proposing it at 50.6 feet. Now, I should point out that most of the cottages and houses down there are a lot closer than 50 feet.
Right, they precede the zoning R2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So just looking for a recommendation to zoning.
And you're eliminating the cesspool. Oh, there is no
Yeah.
structure there now. There's.
No, the existing dwelling is to be removed.
And it has a cesspool. So
Exactly.
you'll be building and putting a septic, which
Right.
I encourage on the water. I'm
Yeah.
glad to see every cesspool that goes away.
He is proposing a new well and a septic system. The septic plan is currently being reviewed by the state. And also we have applied to the wetland department. So they received it in August 22nd. So pending review.
Any questions from the board?
I do.
Go ahead, Mr.
What is the current building? What is the setback now from the water?
I would say probably 15 feet, maybe.
So the current structure is 15 feet off the water now?
Mr. Kenny, I have the site plan pulled up here. You can see here this box with the dashed lines through it. That's the proposed dwelling. The
Yep.
existing dwelling is back here. It's roughly 1,800 square feet.
If this is 50 feet, I mean, you can see how far the existing structure is.
Okay,
By estimating.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Studman.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr.
John, do you want to walk back over to that and just point
Sure.
out to everyone where the existing cesspool is and where I noticed on the drawings, it's going to be an Elgin system on the other side of the road, which is really good,
Here's the subpool.
right on the edge of the water.
And if we can move the drawing over now. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
gonna be the new system over there.
And John, what's the distance from the edge of the new system to the water approximately?
I would
300
say
feet. Oh, yeah.
it was in excess of 200 feet.
Yeah, that's nice. Really nice. Yeah,
Big improvement.
big improvement.
That needs to happen.
Yes,
Yes, it does. No, that's a plus. That's all I have.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Price.
So when I was looking at that plan, the system is on the other side of the road, but it's not within the bounds of that particular property.
So the property is unique in that it's a condominium. So they've been once described to me as vertical boundaries. They're boundaries like you have rights to that shape of land that you have, but also you have the condominium association has rights to put like utilities across your property, like easements or water lines or sewer lines. So that's how it's unique in that way that you can have. This was done for the Flat River Condo Association, where the wells, in that case, the wells were put way out away from the pond and the systems were put in behind the houses.
Thank you.
Is that it, Mr. Price? Anybody else?
Just a little more on that. So, thank you. Do you need the association's approval to do that? Or is that your right to just go underneath the road?
Oh, yeah. No, it's written in the declaration of the condominium.
So that's a common land?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it's not what,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if that's common land, does that mean that anybody could then therefore tie into that later on if they chose to? That's part of that.
Well, they would have to get permission from the condominium association, and they would, like, say if the neighbor to the north there wanted to do kind of the same thing, we could put a system over in the same area,
So is Camp Farm, Hill Farm Camp Road, is that a town road or is that a condominium?
Yeah, that's
Private.
private road.
Anybody else? Questions for the applicant? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion or recommendation for a special use permit for zoning.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Burke.
I'm going to make a favorable motion for the project name Marcotte 37 Hill Farm Camp Road. This is a recommendation to the zoning board. The owner applicant, Scott Marcotte. The address is 37 Hill Farm Camp Road, Assessment Plat 33, Lot 6.13-37, Zone RR2. The existing use is a single-family dwelling. The proposed use is the same. The applicant is seeking a special use permit to demolish the existing home and build a new two-bedroom dwelling with a two-car garage 50 feet from the rear property line where 90 feet is required. The findings of fact with this application, Ingress and egress to the lot is provided via an existing drive with permanent physical access to Hill Farm Camp Road. The proposed addition will not impede automotive or pedestrian safety, traffic flow, or access to the property. Sufficient off-street parking is available on the property, and the proposed addition will not decrease the number of parking spaces. A new OWTS is proposed to be installed that will service the new single-family home. As we've seen, that will be on the opposite side of Hill Farm Camp Road. The abutting properties and surrounding neighborhood is primarily single-family residential. The proposal is compatible with abutting properties. The granting of a special use permit should not affect the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood. And therefore, I again recommend a favorable recommendation to the zoning board, and I will include the planning director's report in my motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burke. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mrs. Elderkin. Do any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The
Thank you very much.
recommendation to zoning carries. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, new business, there's no old business for discussion at this month's meeting, so we're gonna jump down to 10 on the new business for discussion and or action. Pre-application plan / site walk, Lionel Pearson Road, minor subdivision owner, RPA Services LLC, CO, Richard Albanese, manager member, applicant same, proposed 3-lot minor subdivision, AP 320, lot 44R, zone RR5. It's on Lionel Pearson Road. And name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Nicholas Pampiano, professional engineer, advanced civil design, 88 Peep Toad Road, Situate, Rhode Island, 02857. So I'm here representing Richard Albanese, the owner. We have a pre-application for AP 320, lot 44, Lionel Pearson Road. I can just run quickly through some of the information, the existing conditions. Sure.
You asking for any relief at all?
None. I believe we meet all the zoning
Pretty
requirements.
straightforward. Okay.
Yeah, this application should be pretty straightforward. It's a 3-lot minor subdivision without any street creation, 3 frontage lots that should meet all the zoning requirements. The existing lot is situated on the northerly side of Lionel Pearson Road. It's a vacant wooded lot. There are some wetlands in the middle of the lot, as you can see. Basically, as the topography slopes, it slopes from Lionel Pearson and from the east, pretty much to the center. There's a wooded swamp in the middle with a couple of small streams up to the north. The upland portions of the site we've had tested. We've done 8 test holes. We have water tables ranging from 2 foot to 2.5 feet. The existing parcel contains 21.52 acres of land. The parcel was surveyed by Deprete Engineering, and the wetlands were flagged by Ecosystem Solutions. So it's zoned RR5, which is a 5-acre zoning and 300-foot lot frontage. That's pretty much really on the existing conditions. I can just give you a little background on where we've been. And in order to get the wetlands approved before the change in July, we actually did go to DM and received a insignificant alteration permit on the wetlands that you see on the plan. So they have been now grandfathered in under the old regulations prior to July 1st of 2022. That's the only step that we've taken so far. We just wanted to get those wetlands preserved. So that's already been done. As you can see now, this is kind of our proposed plan. 3 lots. Lot A's, you'll see on the left-hand side, the most westerly lot contains about 5 acres of land. The frontage is roughly about 342 feet. Lot B in the center contains 5.8 acres, 301 feet of frontage, and Lot C is about 10.7 acres. And that contains about 450 feet of frontage. All the drainage and everything for these lots have been designed because we have been to wetlands already. Septic systems have not yet been designed, but and that's where we really are today. So if there's any questions, and the owner, Richard Albanese, is here for any questions also.
Any questions from the board for the applicant?
That's straightforward.
Mr. Smith, do you feel that a site walk is needed since they're not asking for any relief?
They're not asking for any relief. I don't see any reason to have a site.
Is the
walk.
board okay with that?
Like,
And you also can go out
On our own.
and on your own,
yeah.
and I guess we'll see you at preliminary.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, 10.2 pre-application plans by Sitewall, Shoreside Commercial Condos, owner Shoreside Realty LLC, CO William Rosa, managing member, applicant same, pre-application for proposed development plan of review consisting of 37 commercial units, condo units in one existing office building, 18 lot 85, zone general business 1, 1910 Next Hill Road. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, John Dorsey, 55 Pine Street, Providence. John Rockwell, 46 South Main Street, Coventry. William Brazoza, 48 Arabian Drive, Coventry.
Thank you. I just want to give a quick, I don't know if you read the engineer's report. We had a few, but I'll let you do your presentation and then the board can ask you some questions.
Okay. I have not read the engineer's report. So this is a parcel of land that was historically a machine shop and a dwelling. And Mr. Brazoza would like to build commercial condominium buildings on the property.
Can you just speak up just a little bit, please?
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
He's proposing 38 units in 6 buildings. They'll have the adequate number of parking, 3 per unit, plus additional parking. So it meets the standard, the parking requirement standard. We have a proposal for stormwater in the back for when the drainage plan is done. And we have a traffic plan on the proposed plan that you can see on the pre-application site plan.
And that's located across from the well-known, which everybody calls the cornfield on the corner of
Yep.
Hopkins Hill.
Casella's Field.
North Neck. Okay. Hockey Hill, sorry. Any other presentation, or you want to hear from the board? And we are going to schedule a site walk.
Okay.
I just brought up, the town engineer had a few different things that he was concerned about. The town engineer is concerned about the method used to meet the required number of parking spaces. The applicant counts 3 interior spaces in each unit. However, there is no information provided that will ensure that these spaces are adequate. Will the units generate traffic, customers, employee parking? Such questions should be addressed in detail in the narrative. So that's one of them. The town engineer is also concerned about the design of the islands between each building. The design would make it difficult for turning and movement of vehicles. He also has concerns with the placement of the round aisles shown at each of the two four-way intersections, as they might reduce traffic visibility. And he also and I also see a recommendation for a lighting plan. So those are just some of the engineer's concerns. If anybody else on the board has any other questions for the applicant,
Yes, I do.
go ahead, Mr. Race.
On the side road here, you have it right on top of the road. A lot of senior living is over there. And there's a lot of flooding in the front. So if you take that out, you're gonna have a lot of flooding if you don't have a lot of, you gotta check your drainage on that front corner.
Yeah, I think the grading will be important there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a 20-foot landscape buffer.
Well, on the side road, there's no, it looks like you're coming right up to the road on this, on the,
It's a 20-foot landscape buffer.
I know it looks like a road, but it really isn't.
oh, I see it.
So
It will be
the access would be over here.
Yeah.
Which is,
And when you come in there, there's a flooding problem right there. That drain goes nowhere. So the water sits there. Right in the entrance of the street.
Right here?
Yes, right there. So that has to be fixed with you guys want to do.
So in the course of developing the drainage plans, that will be.
Yeah, check on that.
will be addressed.
Is that all, Mr. Race?
That's it. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
So, you just defined for me the tradesman-like business that would occupy these buildings. And follow up, I'm just concerned because it's, I mean, you got, I think it's storage structure there, which is pretty quiet. And it's a quiet area, all things considered. And if a business is going in there to, make noise, we are disrupting, even with a 20-foot buffer, the condos on the side and then the neighborhood in the back. Just concerned, I don't know what your tradesmen.
yeah, they'll be used for both tradesmen, warehouse storage and storage itself. So we're not convinced that they're just going to be businesses. So these could be, storage for campers, classic cars, like storage facilities. Some of them will be just unheated storage. Some of them will be, tradesman type commercial condos. So contractors, not,
Right.
they're not going to be storefront type businesses or
Machine shops. Or mechanics, auto body. That's my question. I mean, that's a promise you can make or not really make?
Well, I don't think auto body and that type of stuff would make sense, but, yeah, I mean, it's preliminary at the moment exactly what the use is, but,
I mean, we have ordinance in place if things get too noisy and too busy. I mean, that's what, that's what our laws are for. But
yeah, and to be honest, they'll probably end up mostly being storage. If the local storage companies in town, everything is small. So we've had a lot of people ask for something a little bigger, 1,000 square foot units to store, boats, cars, that sort of
right.
stuff.
I didn't see storage in here. I just saw tradesman like business.
Yeah, but
so it's a
and we hadn't ruled that out either. But it's just,
All right, and then just reiterate on the parking, right? There's big concerns on that because, people coming and going. Is it going to be like a landscape of keeping the trucks there? Now, where are these 4 or 5 guys going to meet and park?
And that was concern.
Okay.
I don't see that. We put parking in against the building for that reason, and against the back of the property where this detention pond would be. Could all be, again, employee parking.
I mean, again, I know it's a pre-app. I'm just bringing it up because it's going to come. It's going to keep coming up. So just be prepared. All right, thanks.
The units are 30 by 34. So that's where he's getting the 3 parking spots. And each one has 2 doors.
Yep.
2 garage doors.
I think it's important to consider all the stipulations that you're hearing in the engineer's report, because being a development planner review, you're only coming back once. So you have all your engineers. So I think changes at that point would be very difficult.
Did that get emailed to us?
I'm sure the staff can get you some copies of that report. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
John, it seems like a lot of roof area in a very small confined area, like Mr. Ray says, that's going to produce a lot of water. So, and the buildings look like it would be very tight in there. What are the plans for snow storage? You know, if you end up with an 18-inch snowstorm and 4 days later, another 18-inch snowstorm, where's that all going to be kept on the property for snow storage? And when that all melts?
Definitely a valid point.
You know, snow storage, and to get a truck around there and push that snow. And then in March, you get a 3-inch rainstorm like we did in 2010. The mobile homes in the back, like Mr. Ray said, there is a drainage problem up front. With that's a wet area. What's going to happen with all that water? It does, yep. All set, yes. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Price.
You have an existing cesspool and an underground oil tank. Are you planning on doing anything with those?
The, it's not, there's no, there. It's not there. It was gone when I bought the building. Yeah.
Okay, because so you could stipulate that that's no longer there?
Yep.
And then the cesspool, Mr. Price.
We proposed a new,
We have a proposal
yeah.
for,
Okay.
on-site wastewater.
Okay. All set, Mr. Price?
Yes.
Good questions. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Smith, if you'd like to,
Yeah, take a look
schedule-
at, for a site walk. Take a look at some dates. If people are interested in doing it on, Saturday, the 8th at like 1 o'clock. How does that work for the board? Other than that, well, that's a holiday weekend. Yeah, that's right. That's.
Well, we have
Columbus Day.
time because you wouldn't be coming back till preliminary anyway. So you can make it later.
Why don't we make it the 15th? On
The
Saturday, the 15th, yeah, because that's Columbus Day weekend, the weekend before. Does that
Okay.
work for you?
At what time?
Okay. 1 o'clock? Does that work for everyone, or you want to do it earlier?
That's fine with me. It's the board would rather do it earlier.
I'd rather, if you want to do it 9 o'clock in the morning?
I'm early.
Okay, 9 a.m. 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock on the 15th? John? Does that work?
I'll try.
And,
Okay,
want to do a rain date just in case.
let's do a rain day for the following Saturday, the
Okay.
22nd, because it is getting dark earlier.
Yeah.
So we'll do the 15th and the 22nd, 9 a.m.
Sounds good?
Meet at the location.
Meet at the location. I mean, if it's raining, it might not be bad to see too. You know, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we will notice that and just make sure that that when you're out there, that someone is taking minutes for that particular time frame. And then just a reminder that you can only have sort of like questions of clarity and all that you shall not have relevant discussions that could be construed to be discussions like you're having tonight. It's really just an observational period of time to see what's going on, make sure that you're not, doing straw poll votes and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Got it. OMA.
And you have a contact number in case we do cancel the Saturday,
the 15th,
because of rain?
Yeah.
You do have a contact number that Herb can reach out to you? Okay.
Is anything?
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Is anything like marked out, John? So when we get there and we do the site walk, we kind of have an idea of where, or is it still just wooded?
I think it's just open.
Half of it's open, half of it's.
Half of it, just to kind of get an
We can
idea.
mark it out.
Kind of,
Like,
yeah,
we'll
like,
have a general
yeah, get an idea. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, kind of mixed into the pre-application, we have a 10.3 preliminary plan for Ferry plat, owners Michael A. and Linda P. Ferry, applicant same, proposed 2-lot minor subdivision, AP 315, lot 44, zone RR5, address 590, 5937 Flat River Road. Anybody here representing the applicant? Wow, you're busy tonight. Name
Hello,
and
my name
address.
is John Rockwell, 46 South Main Street, Coventry, Rhode Island. And I'm representing Linda Ferry. And it's her daughter really that wants to build a house there on off Cars Trail. So the whole lot is 14 and a half acres. I mean, 19, let's see, let me get this out here. 19 acres. And the proposal is to cut off 5 acres on the northeast corner. It will have the proper frontage on Cars Trail, and it'll be in excess of the 5 acre minimum requirement for area. We are proposing a on-site wastewater treatment system, and we sent it to DEM, and it was approved on August 2nd. At this time, I would like to ask for the administrative review for final. And that the soil erosion and control plan be submitted at the final phase.
Okay, and we were out on a site walk on that. So, yeah,
I went out there with Sandy. That's a nice lot.
it's a nice.
Yeah, isn't it?
Nice lot.
Yeah.
Anybody on the board have any questions for the applicant? I know it's pretty straightforward.
That was the last one Sandy did.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I got a question for staff.
Go ahead.
I'm just looking at the stipulations on the back, of this staff report. And I don't know how many are pertinent. It just seems like 8 and 9 is the last page. Is that like pertinent to this or 55? What it talked about Line and Pearson Road. If we're going to include some stipulations, I just want to know if they're accurate.
So number 8, the Lionel Pearson, I apologize for that. That one is a typo. The stipulation holds, but it would just be for Cars Trail rather than Lionel Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as number 9 goes, that is a condition for the final record plan anyway. So it's made as
Is that
for the
fair
applicant to
share,
be aware. Correct.
Well, you don't get that till you get the CO anyway. You won't get a CO unless you pay that.
Correct.
I know that person.
It's more so as a heads up to the applicant.
And then the only other thing is you're just referring as the 2 new single homes, right? The applicant shall receive approval for the town for the 2 new single family, but right, this thing is just 1, I believe, or not this one? Yeah, this one.
Correct.
Okay. There's just a plural and singular going on in the stipulation. So, I mean, usually we sometimes incorporate those in the motion. They got to be somewhat accurate,
What's that?
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Well, I'm going to motion to grant this conditional preliminary approval. I'll just get to that. For this project of Ferry plat. Owner applicant is Michael and Linda Ferry. The AP is a 315 lot 44 zone R5. It's 19.626 acres. And the proposed use is 1 single family home on 1 vacant parcel. So, we just went over the description. The applicant proposes to subdivide this existing 19 plus acres into 2 parcels. No dimensional variances are required. 5.03 is one lot and 14.5 acres is the other. Just, you received, the fire department received it. Was I right to hear you received the on-site? No, right? Wastewater treatment?
Yeah.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
And did we get the sediment control permit? No, right?
No, that's going to be given on the final.
Right, so in this motion, I just want to note that, we still needs the sediment control permit from the town.
And you're going to add into the motion that we're asking for administrative review at the final phase.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's. And you're also looking for is it a waiver of the architect, the landscape architect? You're also looking for a waiver for a landscape architect? Till final, is that, or is it waived completely?
Well, historically, the landscape plan has usually been reserved for development plan review, commercial presentations to the town, or situations where you have a subdivision with a road.
Right, but either way, it's part of it, and you just want it waived.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're asking for.
That's all.
Yeah, it is a line.
Yeah, so I'm going to approve the waiver for the landscape architect in my
Thank
motion, and I'm just
Thank
going to read
you.
a couple of what I believe are pertinent findings of facts for this minor subdivision. And with the criteria as far as potential for further subdivision. There is no potential for any further subdivision of this property without the construction of a public road, and any new lot RR5 must have a minimum of 300 feet of frontage. The other finding of fact here is conformity to zoning. The proposed lot conforms to the zoning, Coventry zoning regulations. Relationship to adjacent nearby uses, the analysis here is that the surrounding area is mostly comprised of single-family homes. The proposed residential development is in keeping with the adjacent uses. And just to support this conditional approval is the just lastly, consistency, with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan defines rural residential zone areas which are generally not served by public facilities and which intensive development should not occur. These areas are characterized by low density development, large estates, agriculture, and certain low intensity non-residential activities into a rural environment. This parcel with their proposed acreage is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And I just wanted to add stipulations, just to note them that they will be needed. Is it final, right? You're familiar with the stipulations on page 7 and 8 of the staff report?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to add that those need to be met. And just to end this motion is I would like to proceed administratively review to go to final and incorporate the staff report in my motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anderson. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mrs. Elderkin. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good luck.
you.
Look,
Good luck.
see you in a couple minutes.
Okay, next we have a submission development plan of review for pre-application site walk, J.W. Studley Tree Service. That's owners John W. Studley III and Anna Confrida. Applicant John W. Studley III, existing wood cutting and mulch business, 1827 lots 115 and 116, zone 1 and general business respectively. And it's on Reservoir Road. Mr. Cronin.
Mr. Chairman, Thomas Cronin, 1070 Main Street, Coventry, Rhode Island, for the applicant. I should note that Mr. Rockwell is with me on this project. but I'll give him a break and do most of the talking. Yeah. So this is pre-application for development plan review, as Mr. Chairman said. 11 Reservoir Road in Coventry, AP 27, lot 115 and lot 116. 1.618 acres of the site. It is fully developed. Lot 115 is zoned industrial. It's owned by John Studley. It's about 28,375 square feet. It has an existing house on the west side of the lot, fronting on Reservoir Road. There's an existing garage and shed on the eastern edge of the property, away from Reservoir Road. And in between the two structures is paved land. The lot 116 is owned general business. It's owned by Anakin Frida. It's under a lease agreement to John Studley. It has 42,123 square feet. It has parking along Reservoir Road. Behind that is a stone block wall, several trees planted along the wall. Behind the wall is a mulch storage towards the center of the property. And toward the rear of the property is a raw material storage along the eastern property line. As far as the neighborhood goes, this is near the intersection of Tioga Avenue, the beginning of Newsnack Hill Road, on the way to the high school. This board is well familiar with this area and some of the troubles that come along with it, as it is industrial on the eastern side of the road and residential on the western side. With regard to this property, we have Confrida greenhouses along Tioga Avenue to the south, an industrial garage and storage building to the north, residential homes, single-family homes across the street. There's a small condominium diagonally to the north of the project, an undeveloped forest to the east. So this is an unusual application for development plan review in that there are no proposed changes. This comes from a zoning board referral to the planning board for development plan review. That application first submitted, the zoning board referral took place in about 2011, and the application was started with the planning board in 2012, and it went into the abyss. And we're resurrecting it currently. The one proposed change that you'll note on the concept plan is that there is an area identified in the north center of the property for mulching. So on occasion, there's a large scale industrial mulch machine that comes to the property approximately 3 times per year. And that's where it'll be placed, on the industrial lot, not on the general business lot. The activities on the lot are, it's a wood lot, right? There's firewood being split. There's mulch being made from raw material. There are no retail customers on the site as employees only, and most of the employees leave in the morning and come back in the afternoon. There's not a great deal of employee activity. Both of these lots are pre-existing non-conforming lots of record. There's no changes proposed to the actual lots. So it's kind of an as-is, where-is application before this board. This is pre-application, and that's the beginning, the restart of the process for development plan review. Unless Mr. Rockwell would like to add anything, I think that's it for now. Mr. Rockwell's good.
Anybody else have any questions from the board to the applicant on this project? It is a pre-application site walk. I think everybody's aware of where this location is. It's at the beginning of Reservoir Road. It's been there many years. think we could schedule a site walk?
Yeah, what I would suggest,
Right after the other one?
Mr. Chair, is do it the 15th or the 22nd for a rain date. It's within 3/4 of a mile of the first one, or a mile. So I'd schedule this at like 10 a.m.
Okay.
If your client will be available, Mr. Cronin, to.
He'll be available.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you then. Thank you.
No, John.
Okay, next we have a public hearing. It's a reinstatement of a development plan and review, Riverside Landing, owner Omni Development Corporation, applicant Coventry Housing Associates Corporation, proposed mill conversion of 2 buildings created 8 2-bedroom condominium, all affordable units, AP 96 lot 19, zone mill conversion district, 633 Main Street. Hi, Mr. Capaldi. Name and address, please.
Arthur Capaldi, 148 Town Farm Road, Coventry. I'm sorry,
Right into the microphone.
is this better?
Much better, thank you.
They always say I got a big mouth. Okay, this is a reinstatement request, and before I continue, I'd like to compliment Mr. Durfee and his staff for getting this matter back on board. This is an unusual situation. I represent the Coventry Housing Authority. Coventry Housing Authority is going to continue to develop this property. And I have Ms. Letty, who will give a testimony about where we're going with it and where we are at the present time. For this to be accomplished, there are certain things that the planning code requires. First, the comprehensive plan calls for what we're doing. Harris is a target area, and it requires opportunity for new and revitalized affordable housing. And that's what we're doing. Also, a plan to provide housing for low and moderate income people, elderly, and the handicapped. Again, that's part of this project. For there to be a reinstatement, certain items have to be substantially the same as it was when this board granted the approval. The subdivision regulations and zoning have not changed substantially since the approval. Physical conditions of the property are basically the same, except there's more growth. Maybe we got more weeds. And we are in a position to continue with the state and regulations concerning the water and whatever the other problems may or may not be. Those have been already resolved. I'd like to introduce at this time Ms. Letty, who's the director of the Coventry Housing Authority. In the town of Coventry, she was in charge of developing Coventry Meadows, the Crossroads, Golden Ridge. Many of you must know about those projects. At the present time, we have 307 units of affordable housing in the town of Coventry, 298 vouchers. So that gives control over affordable housing to 587 units. At this juncture, I'd like to call, by the way, if you want any testimony from our engineer, he's present. But I'd like to call Julie at this time to give you a rundown of where we've been with this project, which is going on a lot of years. We presently have a purchase and sale agreement with the present owner. At such time as we get a building permit or they get a building permit, we will have a closing. We also have allotted to us $2 million for the construction of these 8 units. At the present time, I'd like to call Julie unless there's any further questions of me.
Anybody have any questions? Come on up, Miss Letty. Name and address, please.
Julie Letty, 14 Manchester Circle, Coventry, Rhode Island. Did a good job, Arthur.
Okay.
So the short story is because Coventry Housing's been involved with this development for 15 years, and I don't want to, outline those 15 years. They wanted us to market it. They wanted us to then just manage it. Then they said, well, could you just develop it? And 15 years later, we're here. Nothing has changed. The development plan review was granted in 2016 and it sat there because no one was able to do anything with it. And then it came back, Coventry, could you get this done, please? And we said, by all means, because we've been involved for 8 years previously of that. So we took the set of plans, we took the plan review decision, and we just kept moving forward. We went and got historic review and approval for that. We have our DEM, DOT permits. We have our sewer permit. We got 2.8 million from the state. I just wanted to clarify that. That took a lot, because it's just like, let's just get this done. So it's still going to be 8 units. Nothing's changed. We're using some of the existing structures because it's historic. We have historic's approval of what they want to see in the windows. And I don't know what those are, but my engineer does. And so we have all the initial findings we have met, and the original decision we're asking for reinstatement had stipulations, and we've already met those. So we're ready to move forward administratively, but we didn't realize we had to get reinstated first. So here we are.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant before I open up public hearing?
Julie, it's going to be subsidized. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Julie, are these going to be subsidized or not?
Not.
Okay.
Right. We got enough money in for the construction. We're going to have a very low first mortgage. So our rents can be at 60% AMI.
Next.
Thank you.
I have the waiting list to fill them.
I'm sure. Anybody else have any questions? We ready? You want me to open up public hearing, or you want to proceed?
The only question I have is on ratification, and time is of the essence when you're allotted money for development. And we fear that if too much time goes by, we could possibly lose it. I'm wondering if there's a way that we can speed up the ratification. Because it's a public hearing, I've advised my client that we really have to watch out for 20 days, which is an appeal period. Is there a possibility that we could get a ratification during that 20-day period to the chairman?
Normally, the ratification comes next month.
That's right.
We'll defer it to my solicitor, what I possibly could do, if I can get it in a motion from the board, if in fact it passes, that the chairman can do that ratification after the staff reviews.
If that's part of a motion by the Plan Commission, I don't see anything wrong with that. And not to complicate things, but the Plan Commission could also hold a special meeting. We understand the time constraints. I'm open to either one. I think either one will get the job done in an expeditious time. I don't know if the director has a preference or a comment on.
I think in lieu of a special meeting, that we all come back, I'm willing to do that for the board if the board agrees.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that if that's part of it's part of the board's.
You okay with that
decision?
So yes.
Thank you so much.
Hey, at this time, go
Why
ahead.
you open it? May I please step out?
Oh, absolutely. You want to take 5 minutes?
Yes.
Can we take 5 minutes, please?
Thank you.
Thank you. So.
Yeah, I'll do the motion for it.
Oh, we can speak. We're allowed to speak. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a dry one. Yeah. I've been by there. Yeah. I hope it rains that day.
You go out to this new one yet?
No.
No.
What, the one on right near me?
Yeah.
I told them no out of the gate.
I hear you.
It's silly. It's foolish.
Yeah.
It's foolish.
Totally. They passed up on a couple they didn't like, and I was like, how can you pass up on that? I know.
And go for this?
And I got told, just stay out of it, Mom. I'm like, you know what? You're on your own.
No, we're on the couch last night. She's like, I said, I promised my wife, I said, I'm not talking about it because I just don't want to be that guy. But they asked me, I said, okay. I said, it ain't worth 300,000. This is insane. What are you guys thinking?
Oh, yeah, totally.
So, I said, it's up to you. I'm telling you, it's not worth it. You'll never get your money back.
Try to send a little suggestion and it's like, that's right. I forgot, you know it all.
Yep, I told her it's not worth that.
Yeah.
Let's just wait. I think they're in a hurry because, I put the paste on them.
What's that?
I did put a time frame on it because they just, Zach, he's been there since February.
Yeah.
So those are those places that you can rent. Okay, but I know it's just gonna sit there for the next 10 years if he can't. But it's just, this is a bad time. I'm not gonna hold.
I can go outside with the other day. It'll be in the right place.
Oh, really?
If it eats weeks, say too long, it's not long, you know. But he makes a big change.
Huge. Huge change. That, if somebody wants to do that, they let them. Just wait. What happens? Here's the problem. I tell you, have to pay godly amounts for the house for that 6% interest rate. This is nuts. Wait.
Are we ever gonna get out of it?
All right. I don't even know if the bank's not even giving the money for it. That's the problem. All these things, they're gonna go in and the bank's like, no. It's only worth this, so you gotta come up with 70 grand.
Exactly.
And they're like, no, it's not up to the seller. I said, no, you're gonna take a loan. The bank's gonna say, what? Sorry. Right. So when they said it, I said, oh, you guys got 80 grand to put down? What? No, I said, because the bank's is at 220. That's all they're gonna give you.
I filled up half of my recycle bin the other day, the big green one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't keep them.
That truck is gonna be hard pressed to pick up that recycle bin.
Only things I keep is the stuff that we haven't found.
I told him I've been keeping a lot of this stuff. And I
I
finally,
got stacked.
I finally said, you know what? This project's going, this project's going. Yeah, and I filled up half of my recycle bin. That's how much I've had.
I got close to 4 years because it's either in my truck, in my bed, under the bed, because I just take it home. So I got a fuck with it.
I didn't even.
Yeah. No, I'm going to now. I got my, I'm waiting for the nice rainy fire fit day.
You're in a place, you got to wait.
They can come get it.
Everything was.
Hey, Bright City, do we, besides just this little one here, have we got anything else?
No.
Oh, okay, because I was going nuts looking for it.
Oh, it's the first.
Okay.
It's a master plan. We had a pre-application.
Haven't.
Lead, you want to pay it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Oh, yeah. we can do this.
Sorry.
Fair enough.
Yeah, for some reason people don't talk into your mics. I don't know.
When you want this in? I'm gonna get bad odds if I take that. I can't. Oh, it'll come back. I'm using a pack of a couple of acid. Do you? And I don't have.
Got one.
Anybody else?
I'm all set.
Thank you, Terry.
You go to her house, right?
You guys want to go, right? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for waiting. Are we all set? We're ready to open up public hearing? Okay, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to open up public hearing.
Make a motion that we open public hearing on the Omni Development Corp. For 633 Main Street.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Reyes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Everybody can come up and speak for or against the project. I'm going to start on my left. Is there anybody on the left side of the room, my left, that would like to come up and speak for or against this project? Seeing none. Anybody on the right side of the room? Seeing none. Anybody on Zoom?
Maybe just ask to raise your hand.
Could you raise your hand if you're on Zoom and you'd like to speak for or against this project? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to close public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close public
I
hearing.
have a motion to close by Mr. Kenny. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Elderkin. I got you this time. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Public hearing is now closed. Is there anything else you would like to add, Mr. Capaldi?
No, this is any question before.
Does the board have any questions before we go forward with a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
You have the director's report, right? You've seen the director's report, and
would you like to come up to the mic?
I just didn't know if you were aware that, and I don't think it was discussed, but it's just recommended. Whoever might make the motion might have two stipulations that you actually put a project schedule together if you haven't already with the completion date.
We can do that,
Okay.
and we won't have to come back again.
Right.
Okay,
You're looking for final administrator.
correct. Just as it is in the
Okay.
original decision.
And whoever makes the motion, if you want to add, if it's okay with the board, that I can ratify this after the staff reviews it.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
All you're doing is reinstating the permit, so you do not need to, there's no final.
There's no final
review, correct.
But there will be a ratification, correct, of this?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
And there's just one more stipulation. I just want you to be aware. We're going to be clear that that he just suggested that no additional reinstatement or development plan or review approval extension beyond the above requested schedule. Beyond this submission will be granted by the planning commission. So basically, staff is saying that if you overshoot that schedule, am I correct in saying there's stipulation there?
What I'm basically saying is because of the length of time that's gone by from previously to now to reinstate that it's fish or cut bait on doing this particular project. If they don't meet the intent of this, they'll need to come back as a new application for a DPR.
I just wanted you aware of that. So that's going to be based on the schedule that they give staff if they agreed to it. I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. That might come up in the motion. I don't know. It's here. It was a recommendation.
It is a recommendation, and we don't have a concern because the reinstatement allows us to go to final administratively, meeting the stipulations in that reinstatement. We have them met already. So we could go to administrative final tomorrow if we didn't have to do the ratification. So we're not anticipating any extension required.
Lets me know.
We're ready to build.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for the discussion.
First. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
Okay, Mr. Kenny.
for approval of reinstatement from Riverside Landing, owner applicant, Omni Development Port, owner, Coventry Housing Association, address 633 Main Street, assessors plot 96, lot 19, zone I2, no, let me do this. This will make it easy. I2 lot 0.6 acres. Existing use is vacant building, formerly mill related. Proposed use conversion of mill building to 8 two-bedroom condominium units. The owner applicant is requesting a reinstatement of the 9/27/2006 developmental plan of review approval, written decision dated 10/4/2006. Conditioned in the reinstatement, will grant reinstatement of the original developmental plan review and its related conditions of approval is contained in the Planning Commission's October 4th, 2006 written decision. The applicant is to file with staff an anticipated project schedule for project completion with limitations sunsetting of future allocated by the state administration is publicly announced by the governor. And will stipulate that no additional reinstatement or DPR approval extension beyond the above requested schedule will be granted by the Planning Commission. That is, as applicable, any future approval needed by the Planning Commission will be done so through a new application and its related process. I would also like to add, upon approval of the reinstatement, that the planning chair be allowed after staff has reviewed the reinstatement to do the ratification by himself with the support of the board.
That would be the preparation of the written decision.
Thank you. Upon staff's preparation of the written decision, that the chairman be allowed to do the ratification on behalf of the board.
Would you like to?
I would also like to add the staff report into my motion.
The final administrative, right?
Yeah, that's already in the
Okay.
in the statement.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Elbickin. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The chairman, board members, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next we have a public informational meeting continued to be heard on this date. Master plan, Rice City Estates, owner Pippin Orchard Investors, LLC, CO Attorney Tom Cronin, applicant same, proposed major residential 6-lot, single-family home subdivision, no street creation, AP 320 lot 77. It's in an RR5 and it's Rice City Road. Anybody here representing the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, just as a point of order, that solicitor David D'Agostino has stepped away as a recusal due to a relationship that a member of their firm has with this, affiliated with this area. And stepping in for us is Counselor Joanna Achille, I think is the right pronunciation. She is online at Zoom. So if you do need solicitor assistance, that is available tonight.
Okay, well noted. Thank you.
Do we want to check that she can communicate?
Yeah, she's got her hand up. So we just want to make sure she can communicate with us. There we go. Sorry, I hadn't turned her on. So her hand is up.
Joanne, can you hear us good?
I can hear, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Sorry, we got off to a rough start with Attorney Achille at the last hearing, so I just want to make sure we all can communicate. Thomas Cronin, 1070 Main Street, Coventry, Rhode Island, for the owner and applicant. This is a master plan. This is AP 320 lot 77. It's 60 acres, 60.93 acres of vacant woodland on Rice City Road. It's zoned RR5. Rice City Road in this area is a dead-end gravel road of varying width. It has single-family houses, mostly on the western side of the road, although toward the beginning of the road, there are some houses there as well. There's our lot 77, slopes away from the road, and you can see that there's a substantial wetland area that runs north to south through the rear boundaries of the property. So the road is a little higher than this lot. It slopes gently away. The north of the property is single-family homes. East of the property is undeveloped land and land of the Audubon Society. And to the south is private undeveloped land and land of the Audubon Society. The parcel owned by the Audubon Society is composed of multiple lots and has frontage on Cahoon Road. So this is a straightforward proposal. The proposed use is a subdivision of land for residential development, single-family homes, 6 lots along Rice City Road. So direct driveway access to Rice City Road, proposed utilities from Rice City Road. Each of the homes will be served by private water and OWTS. The house lots that are proposed are conforming to the RR5 zone. Lot 1 is 11.05 acres, lot 2, 12.25 acres, lot 3, 11.42 acres, lot 4, 6.8 acres, lot 5 is 5 acres, and lot 6 is 14.24 acres. Each of the lots has the required frontage of 300 feet on Rice City Road. We won't be seeking any zoning relief for any of the proposed subdivided lots. The town has requested, and if you drive down Rice City Road, you'll see that the road will be improved in front of these lots to the town gravel road standard, which is 24 feet and certain construction, 24 feet wide, I should say. And a turnaround will be added after lot 6 that will allow the capacity to turn around for fire trucks and town vehicles. Currently, there's a dead end that has somewhat circular turnaround, but it's let's just say it's not a perfect circle. And so this will give us some additional area for the town vehicles to turn around. It says it's conforming, so there's no relief to be discussed, but in the planner's report, as Mr. Anderson has clearly read thoroughly this evening, there are a couple of notes that I would like to discuss to bring them to the forefront. The first one is the request for a 15-foot easement along the Rice City Road right away, I guess we'll call it, at the front of each one of these lots. I'm a little concerned about agreeing to that at this point, and I'd ask that decision be waived or continued until preliminary. This board may recall that when we did the development on Ledge Road, it was a similar gravel road of, with single-family homes on it. It didn't have a defined town right away for that road. And I'm not sure that Rice City Road has that either. And you may recall that we had to make compromises on Ledge Road about all of the gravel road improvement was on one side of the road in some areas and those types of things. So I'd like to put off the 15-foot easement along the front of the roads until I get a better understanding of where the town right of way, if any, appears at this location. Because, as I mentioned at the very beginning, there are very nice single-family homes on the opposite side of this road, and they have established driveways and mailboxes and that kind of thing. And if their deeds don't include a town right away, the town will have to get involved in that, when decisions will have to be made about how to establish that 24-foot roadway as well as the town right away. So I would ask that. And I just had one request of the board with regard to the suggestion regarding efforts to connect to the Audubon Society land. I have no problem reaching out to the Audubon Society and determining what they want. The language of the suggestion in the planning director's report requires certain things from the Audubon Society, and I can't really promise that they'll respond, agree. I think the word actually is concur. I'm happy to include language that requires me to reach out to them and see what, if any, need they have in this area, and provide documentation of that effort and whatever response I receive. But I can't guarantee their response or agreement. And lastly, that's number 6. I'm sorry, I should have given you the numbers. The first one I talked about was 16. The second one was 6. And the last one is 23. And I think it's just a simple, I just want to confirm that I understand what the planner and the planning board mean. Is a request that the developer deed land for a future fire cistern in front of lot 5. Normally, those kind of things are deeded easements. And I just want to confirm with the board and the planner that that's the intent, because the frontage on that lot is just over 300 feet. And if I go deeding away a little bit of land, I could get myself in a little bit of trouble frontage wise, but an easement would not cause the same concerns. So I just wanted to bring those items up to the board for the board's consideration and discussion. But other than that, I don't have anything further at this time. It's a conforming subdivision. Yeah.
I don't have any questions before I open up public hearing. Does anybody else have any questions?
This is for the director. 23, changing the word deeded to easement. That's
It just grammatical error, should have said the deeded easement, correct?
okay.
Yeah. Is that all? Well, we can discuss that.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I got a couple things.
Go ahead.
Just before we get into it.
Yep, go ahead.
Probably gonna be redundant, what everyone else has.
No problem. I'm going to say in the survey letter, the dwellings are proposed to be about 150 to 200 feet from the road. Right, the houses themselves.
That's correct.
And as far as the, and again, we're not seeing the design, but when the driveways get put in, are these going to have, these going to be, 150 foot, 200 foot driveways? They're going to be a direct shot, or they're going to be curved or rounded? So say not to see houses, but to keep a buffer even with the driveway instead of the shotgun style driveways?
I don't think that any decisions have been made in that regard, but certainly that suggestion could be easily noted. The topography is rolling, let's say. So I don't think it wouldn't necessarily be a straight shot, but if you want some curvature in the driveways, now's the time, right?
Right. That's right. I just getting this out. And again, you brought it up, lot 5, we're splitting hairs here. 5 acres, like on the money, 5 acres. So it brings in question your easement and everything else. Why? I guess my question, why would we have, you couldn't steal, huh? You couldn't steal anymore. 5 acres is 5 acres. As long as there's no mistake in that calculation, you couldn't steal from, lot 6, or lot 4 just to get it away from that, exact 5 acres.
I think we could, but the design preferences of the town, as you're well aware, I know you know this, but
right.
the design preferences of the town are straight lines, right angles, no hockey sticks.
Right.
You know, so if we stole 20 feet from lot 6 and ran it to the back line to gain an acre, I think that'd be frowned upon, right? You know, so I think we try to make them as rectangular as, you know, we can, you know, conformity is not the right word, but to follow along with the preferences as stated in the planning subdivision regs.
And it is noted 5 acres, you know, actually 5.002 or something if you really do the math, but okay, I'm just. Okay. Oh, nothing else. Thank you.
Anybody else? You ready to open up public hearing?
Sure.
Good. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to open up public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
But
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
motion by Mrs. Elderkin,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, public hearing is open. Okay, I'm gonna, everybody can speak tonight. I'm gonna start on my left, your right. Anybody else, anybody wants to come up? Go ahead. Name and address for the record, please.
Donna Moore, 225 Rice City Road in Coventry. We have several concerns. Well, I have a couple of questions, but our main concern is we built directly across the street from this development that's going in. When we built, there were no utility poles. So we, both my husband and I, and Mr. and Mrs. Lake, who are beyond us, had to pay Rhode Island Energy for the installation of the poles and the lines. We're told by Rhode Island Energy that when this development goes in, they will assess how many lots are going to access those poles, and we will be reimbursed. We're not talking $4,000 or $5,000, $20,000 just to get a house in. That was our share. Mr. and Mrs. Lake, probably equivalent or more. So that's one of our concerns, that be addressed before they connect and make money on selling houses off what we're still paying for utilities. The other concern I have is I like the idea of a fire cistern. That's a good idea down there. We're all volunteer out in that area, and there really is no water supply close by. So that would be beneficial. I'm concerned about the town asking for a turnaround at the end of where it's a dead end road. I think what they're seeing as a turnaround is Mr. and Mrs. Lake's driveway, which is a right of way over our property that we give to them to get to their land in the back. So if they come too far to one side with their turnaround and they don't take it out of one of the front of their lots, they're not going to make a substantial turnaround for fire apparatus. So those are some of our concerns.
Yeah, duly noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, you want to answer these as a bunch or one at a time? I can bring everybody up and.
Honestly, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe I can address the concern with regard to Rhode Island Energy. I can investigate it, and the board can certainly make it a contingency that I do investigate it, but I don't know the answer to that.
Putting any poles in?
This is master plan concept. I have no.
This is just a conceptual plan.
I was more worried about, frankly, moving them as we had to do on Ledge Road. Move each pole to widen the road, which was as Mrs. Moore indicated, quite expensive. So that was my primary concern, that I'd end up having to move them. I wasn't aware of this particular issue, but I'm happy to investigate it and address it at preliminary.
You'd like to add something to that? Come on up.
Yes, we have contact information.
You got to come up and give your name and address. Sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Donna Moore, 225 Rice City Road. We have contact information for Mr. Cronin if he'd like it, to get in touch with Rhode Island Energy and address all of that.
Okay.
And we'd appreciate being kept in the loop to know what's going on and what their
Mr.
findings
Cronin
are.
will keep you in the loop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Go ahead,
Chairman, before Mrs. Moore sits down, could I just have her contact?
Yeah.
Yes, I will get it to you.
Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Come on up, right in the front. I'll get to you next. Name and address, please.
Of course. My name is Megan Dupreet. I live on 60 Wilson Avenue in Warwick. My husband and I own the adjacent property immediately south of this lot. Lot 79 is our lot. Just a couple things definitely caught my ear when we're talking about a turnaround. Our property has frontage on the very end of Rice City Road. In this area, we have a lot of frontage on the other end. But obviously, I'd be a little concerned about that layout for a turnaround. And on the site plan, I know it's a little bit conceptual, but I noticed that the proximity of the on-site wastewater system is really close to our property. And I would hope that that would be sited in a manner that doesn't encumber our property in any way. I think that was it, but if there's anything else, I'll raise my hand.
Thank you. So, Mr. Cronin, she's concerned about the gravel road that actually the town is asking you to improve. The turnaround is adjacent to her property, and also the wastewater, which I don't know if you know where that will be at this point.
It's tough to read, but I think right here in the south, where really the southern corner of that proposed lot is the in WTS. It's only concept, but I'll make a note to tell Mr. Rockwell to move it over a bit.
Okay.
As far as the turnaround goes, that, as I understand it, and I haven't talked to Mr. McGee. I'm sorry, I'm coming back. I haven't talked to Mr. McGee directly, but I believe his vision of this is that that turnaround is going to be on lot 6. I don't. He hasn't informed me that he's going to drag anyone else into this process.
Be on your lot.
That was my impression. And I'm certainly, I'm happy to share the responsibility, but it's really going to be up to Mr. McGee. That turn radius, as this board is well aware, can be significant. So we'll have to see what that looks like.
Thank you. Come on up. Name and address, please.
Jeffrey Lake, 275 Rice City Road in Coventry.
Yeah.
You're welcome. As far as the road itself right now from 225 down to my driveway at 275, I had to develop that road when I bought the property, because as the road stood when I bought the property 7 years ago, at the Moore's property was where it ended at the time. So in order to access my property, I had to develop that 400 feet of roadway to get down to my property, my right of way to get into my property. So I developed it with, I think Mr. McGee was still there at the time. So that turnaround as it stands right now, we developed with approval from the town, where they can pull forward and then back into my driveway a little bit and turn around. So there isn't a ton of room for a cul-de-sac, or I'm not sure what's going to happen down there, as far as a turnaround. But there isn't a ton of room for a turnaround as far as a circular turnaround. The other thing, I just was looking for a clarification on the fire cistern over there. I'm not familiar with that, so I don't know what it is. Is that something that's, I don't know. I don't know what that is. So I just wanted to get a clarification on that. As well as, when I was developing my property, there was at the time a developer that was interested in the 60 acres that they're developing now. And before I worked on the road to the 400 feet of road that I had to do, they said, all right, hold on, put the brakes on. Because at the time they were proposing 6 to 8 houses on that property. And they said, if they do that, that may increase traffic. They were talking about, continuing the road all the way through to the other side of Rice City Road and then potentially paving it at the time. That obviously that deal for that property fell apart and, I was able to move forward with that. Not that I'm looking to have the road go all the way through. I like it as it stands and I don't necessarily want it paved. But I want to, see what is there's no recommendation for paving or continuing that road all the way through?
I don't believe so. Mr. Cronin can answer that, but I think they're just going to upgrade the gravel that's there now.
Okay.
But
All right.
Mr. Cronin, if you just want to address the cistern.
Sure.
I guess the fire department is.
Sure. A cistern is a standalone, above ground, stainless steel water tank, usually with a pump attached to it. Usually you see them in high density residential development and commercial development. They come in various sizes, typically around 20,000 gallons. And they're filled with water and maintained usually by the fire department. In this case, it's a volunteer fire department. I don't know if they want to add that to their checklist or not, but that certainly would be a new thing for the Western Coventry Fire Department. So that's what a cistern is. It's essentially a large above ground tank, usually stainless steel, and usually screened with some nice arborvitaes or some fence, so you can try not to see it, although they kind of stick out a little bit. So they size them for need. So I couldn't stand here today and say it's going to be a 30,000 gallon cistern or something like that. They size them by need, how far they got to run the hoses, the size of the structures and those kind of things, the availability of other water, as I believe Mr. Lake said. So that's what a cistern is. I'm not sure that. No, above ground.
No, they put them in the ground, so they don't freeze.
All right. Well, not what I've seen recently, but okay. I mean, either way. So as far as the road going through or being paved, none of that is being considered at this time. Again, as far as I know, and certainly this is something that will be investigated with Mr. McGee based on the comments from the neighbors. I don't think that he's talking about putting that turnaround at the dead end. I think he's essentially asking us to put in a gravel driveway at the edge of our land so that he can turn a truck around if he needs to. A jug handle, they have hammerhead, they have all kinds of great names.
Fire
but
truck.
yeah.
Turn around.
Yes. So that's how I
What would be
interpret
on
it.
your property?
That's how I interpret his comment.
Okay. Thank you. I'll get to you in the back, right up in the front. Want to come up, sir? Go ahead. Name and address, please.
Kenneth Cole, 161 Lionel Pearson Road, Bean, Rhode Island. 161
What's the name of the street again, please?
Lionel Pearson.
Thank you.
I'm not totally up on this, so I'm going to ask you people. As far as I'm concerned, I feel as though it's going to be a safety hazard for any further houses being built on Rice City Road without a through road, because we have a lot of trees on Rice City Road. A tree comes down, a rescue is needed down the end of that road, they're not going to be able to get to them. So my concern is if we keep putting houses there and we have a narrow road to begin with, and you're just talking about a turnaround, suppose the ambulance gets down in there and then can't get back out in a hurricane. So that to me is a safety. So I would just like to iterate that with you guys and have you think about that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else on this side? Come on up.
Can you put that picture back up of the development, please?
Yeah, name and address first, please.
Bob Thornton, 397 Hopkins Hollow Road, Green, Rhode Island. I understand that gentleman with the cistern. I checked with the Western Coventry Fire Department. And I think obviously you people on the zoning board are well aware. Anything over 3 houses on a development supposed to have a minimum of 10,000 acre cistern. And in this case, you're going to need a lot more than that.
Remember not to touch.
Yeah. Where we can put the cistern, that's important. Where's the cistern going to be located and which property is going to be located? Another thing too, this is very, very similar to another development. And this question would be Mr. Cronin. 6 acres, 14 acres, all this acreage. 150 feet, 200 feet away from the house. From the road. Why are these houses similar to another development that's in question, this close with all of this property? I don't quite understand that. This is another cluster development. And like I said, the folks that live over here, I don't live over here. I was concerned because when I saw this plan, when I went to the planning department, particularly with your acreage in the back of the Audubon Society, and then you got wetlands over here. There's going to be a point in time when Coventry decides what they're going to do with the town of Coventry as far as development. He's sleeping. Is he sleeping?
He's not sleeping.
Look like he's sleeping. Excuse me. I think this cluster development, you could at least talk to the developers, see if you could move these houses in. Because if I lived across the street from this place, 150 feet with all this acreage makes no sense. Where's the septic system going to go? How close are you going to move the septic system? You got 6 acres. Why are these houses this close to the road? The other thing about these preliminary plans, they're very preliminary. There's nothing here that tells the public what's really going to happen. Because we went through this before in a different development. I won't get back into that. You don't find out a lot of stuff here, folks. Pay attention. You got a right to appeal. Okay? You don't like what you're going, you see, have a right to appeal. It's in resolution. In the town ordinance. That's another thing. This stuff should be all checked for the zoning board, clarified as to how many cisterns he's going to put in. Because there's not only could be a fire on this property, but these folks over here, where's their water? Who's bringing their water in? When I talked to Bob Mann in the Western Coventry Fire Department, fortunately out here, which I did not know after 26 years, we're well covered as far as protection from different towns, Forster, West Greenwich, and everything else. The problem here that I see for these folks and like us and our relative developers, you've only got X amount of water, you only have X amount of water coming in. And if they put in one tank here, if this fire jumps anywhere in between here, like most of the people out here in Western County, this is all forested. If you've got a jumping fire, you only have one cistern to put the fire on. I think Coventry really needs to look at why are these right here? Why are they so close? What advantage does that have? The only advantage it has for the developer. He doesn't have to bring any more lines in. The lines only got to go 150 feet of all utility lines. Here's another thing. When the lady talked about poles, is this, and I don't understand this, is this going to be underground service or is this going to be poles? He doesn't tell you that. There's nothing in the preliminary plan to tell us. So those folks there, if they put in underground poles and underground services here, you may not get your money back. They're not telling you that.
Not true.
What?
Not true. We put poles on the road.
Right, you did. I'm supporting you.
This is a public hearing. Let him talk first and then you can come up.
Okay, great. I hope they do reimburse you for that very reason, because if they do underground utilities here, these people have everything all set. They'll never lose a power line. This is, I think, some of the things that the zoning board, it's preliminary for you because you're looking at a piece of paper, a proposal. It's definite and indefinite for the folks that are in this room because they're going to live with this proposal if it carries through to the next stage, just like we're going through with a different development. So I think it's more important for you folks to really, and this gentleman too, Mr. Anderson, brought out a couple of things at the last hearing I was at. Evaluate what you see and what you hear as opposed to what they're really going to do. Mr. Cronin didn't necessarily give you the specifics as to how this is really going to fall through. Where's the septic system? Where does the septic system fall to this property line in relation to the other neighbor? That's not there. Where's the cistern going to go? Are they going to put the cistern in the road? Well, whose property is the cistern going to be on? These are important things, in my opinion, that the board should be responsible for at this beginning phase. He comes through with this is basically an open plan. It's so preliminary and vague that none of these residents that live over here or down over here have a clue what this is going to do. Then you wait till the next hearing. Well, Mr. Cronin's not sure what he's going to be able to do with his developer as to where the cul-de-sac and turnaround is going to be. He's not sure if he's going to put poles in. You got a lot of uncertainty. And I found out from the first meeting that if this goes through the way it is, you don't appeal it, their next move, it's going to go just the way they want it until he meets all of his requirements on the back of a piece of paper that the top zoning board is going to require that he mandates from DEM to the state. My suggestion is that please, folks, take a look at what you're doing to Coventry. You got all of this acreage. Why the front? Why? You folks live in this town longer than me. I've been here 26 years. I've never been involved in this. I lived in Providence on a 40 by 80 lot. 40 by 80, right through the window. That's what they're going to get. We've got another development that's going to be even closer to this. The acreage is 2.3 acres, 2.3 acres, 7 houses. You got a beautiful town here. You've got the eastern corridor for NASA designated as the black corridor. We've got a very distinct shot of western Rhode Island and eastern Connecticut. It's designated as a national spot by the astronauts. They fly over, it's black corridor. You got historical all through here. How the heck are we going to rip apart the Audubon Society? The wetlands. Wetlands. I had a buddy on 118 10 years ago. He took down 4 trees next to a little creek. They talked to the state that they said he destroyed wetlands. What happens here? If he says it pitches over, where does the runoff go? Does the runoff go into the wetlands? Or does it pitch away from the wetlands? You're having this problem on Lake Tioga. This is the things you need to look at before they get to the second phase. And then they can't change things. We had that happen. When you folks asked, if we can make these 2 changes in a different set of circumstances, what would happen? Your liability comes in. Town's liable. I suggest, as I said, every resident has a right to protest. Every resident has a right to, and so do you folks. Take a look at your comprehensive plans of Coventry. They don't look like this. If you shrunk this in its picture, this looks just like Wastewater. You just eliminate the rest of the back of the property. 150 feet. The length of this building, half the length of this building. That's where the neighbors are. They get all this acreage. That's what I want to say. And about the water, the other thing I want to add about the water. Bob Mann said a minimum in the zoning subdivision, it's 10,000 gallons for 3 houses in the development. So minimum, you're going to need, you would need a minimum of 30 to 40,000 gallons here. If these are what, 4-bedroom houses?
Mr. Chairman, do you have any answers now?
I'm just curious because if you got 4-bedroom houses, that bases on the size, the square footage, and how much water you're going to need to put a fire out. So there's 6 times the amount of square footage you're going to need to put a fire out, times the amount of it. Here's another thing. I discussed this with my son about firemen. When you put these developments in, how many more fire trucks did you add to the town of Coventry? How many more volunteers did you get? They have the problem in Florida. They'll put a major development like this with 2 roads. 250 houses already built. When you leave the fire department to go into this loop, you're offline. These people are more important right now because here's where the fire is. You're offline. We don't have that luxury in Coventry. You may get the volunteers to come and then some surrounding. These catch on fire. You're not going to put it out. These are the things I suggested you really, really take a look at. These plans are so vague. I could have did this in basic architectural drawing in high school. You need more information, in my opinion, for the residents that live around these areas. Because a walk-through site walk, yes, you should. I'm glad everyone you do that. For the simple fact that you can get an eyeball as to see what your neighbor is going to be looking at and where your future is. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Cronin? I know this is
Sure. So the short answer is lot 5 is the short answer. As I said earlier, cistern lot 5 cannot address why the Coventry zoning and subdivision regulations are what they are. But we're within the building envelopes.
You're not asking for relief.
We're not asking for relief. This plan shows the wells in the rear, septic systems in the front. The houses are pushed to the front because of the wetland. Things I said earlier, but I can't really speak for the town, nor should I. But cistern's going on lot 5.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side? Okay, seeing none. Anybody on this side? Come on up. Name and address, please.
Edward Cole, 1172 Plainfield Pike. First off, I'm not against this plan, and they're going to hate me for this. But if I'm not mistaken, that frontage actually allows for almost 8 lots, doesn't it? And DEM has already deemed.
You are right, because this was actually, as somebody brought up, this plan was brought up years ago.
Yeah.
And I believe there was more than 6 lots.
So DEM is
They're not
already
asking for any relief, as you know.
No, DEM has already eliminated the wetlands and taken that out of land that can be subdivided. That's how they ended up with 6. On that note, the road does not work. We know that. We saw back a number of years ago, fire apparatus could not get down to Pondbrook Farm on Barb's Hill Road. They lost the barn. The Western Coventry Fire Department drove to a light bridge and could not go any further, had to go all the way around. Foster got there before they did. I think, as it was mentioned, to bring that road through, I know it's expensive. I know it's been talked about that there may not actually be a right of way through there. I think it would be beneficial for Cahoon Road. It would be beneficial for Nelson Capwell Road, and it would also be beneficial for the Rice City Road, due to that there is a light bridge on Cahoon Road, only one access. Farm machinery and school buses, we run into it on Sisson Road. The roads are too narrow. School buses cannot back up. Some farm machinery also cannot back up. It's very difficult. I ran into it myself twice last year. We had to back up double hay wagons because a school bus is not allowed to back up, period. End of story. The road needs to be wide enough where a school bus and a 10-foot piece of equipment can pass. The road is used for farm. There is 2 people up there with horses. It is an access through to another major farm area on Cahoon Road off of Sisson. And we need to be allowed the access through there if we wish to use it. If the easement is not there, as Mr. Cronin said, there's a question on if the 15-foot easement is there. I'm assuming that's to widen the road 15 feet. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. It's for something different. What is that easement for?
Go ahead, Herb.
It's just very quickly, it's the 15-foot is for a non-motorized trail with the idea that we're going to have a better network of trails and paths throughout town. So what we're trying to do is establish easements on developments that come in to make it easier for the future when we do try to do completions of that network. So it's for a non-motorized trail.
Perfect. Glad I asked. In favor of it. I think that's great. It's something for the community. It's something the community can use. Give and take. Yeah, we're going to get 6 houses. What are we going to get out of it? We're going to get a road that's updated to spec, because that road, I can guarantee you, has not been graded since the spring. They went out there with a backhoe. They touched it up. They haven't been back since. They haven't been back to Barb's Hill. They haven't been back to Lionel Pearson. They haven't been back to Sisson. It's just the town does not have enough manpower to do it. And I think that really needs to be looked at. I think the width of the road is a big concern. I think it should go through. It should go through to the other side. I know people on the other side are against it because they like how private it is. But I think it would be very beneficial to the town as far as access, as far as getting garbage trucks to the other side, would save them time instead of turning around 3 times to do their route. I just think it should be highly considered.
Thank you. Tom, I think that's all the town, right? And you want to address that, but the road is really the town.
I can't.
Right. So the road going through would be a town issue. I mean, you're not gonna put a road through.
So can I've heard this come up 2 or 3 times now, so I guess I'll direct the question to her.
If we could pull up the GIS map, you can see.
What's the distance?
There's a gap, and it's a good distance, but it's, you can see both ends of the road that have that stop. They stop, and there's some land, as Mr. Cole indicated, may or may not be privately owned. So that's a town level.
Is it realistic or is it?
I couldn't say.
Impossible.
Yeah. I haven't, as often as I've been down Rice City Road, I haven't got out of the car and walked through there I don't know.
If I lived there personally, I would want it to go through because I would want to keep it a dead end. But we've heard that from other neighbors. So
I'd want it to be a dead end too, but I don't feel comfortable with adding that amount of residences and only having one way in and one way out.
well, they're going to do a turnaround, but they're not asking for any relief. That's really up to the town to improve the road. We can use fair share money to do off-site construction.
So, Mr. Burke, so where our development is, this is where Rice City Road starts right now. It ends right here where you see that jangle of lines right there. And this road does not exist. There's a gap. It's like the width of like a lot.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Just, first of all, I know this has nothing to do with the developer working in that area. I'm very familiar with the road from my experience working with the town. There are other roads, like Mr. Cole is saying, in the western end that have the same situation. And, you got Nelson Capitol Road, same thing. There's only one way in, one way out. There's a paper road behind that comes back out at Cars Trail. It's never, I worked on that with Peter Swarsa 25 years ago. Couldn't figure it out, who's what. There's also Nicholas Farm Road, same situation. It's one way in, one way out. In fact, where one of the residents lives over the bridge, the bridge is derated where heavy trucks can't go. So it's not the only place. Way back years ago when Mr. Spear was the council president, we actually had him out there on that dead end part before Mr. Lake built his house or the Moores built their house. It ended before that. And they could never sort out the property lines and who owned what. We had a similar problem with drainage on Lewis Farm Road by Nicholas Road. This is probably in the mid-90s. And Peter Swarsa came out. The only way you could determine where the road actually was is Peter Swarsa surveyed the lots on both sides, the east side and the west side of Lewis Farm Road. And what was left belonged to the town. Because like Mr. Cronin was saying about Rice City Road, you don't really know where it is. So Peter came out and worked with the town. He surveyed it, the lots, and what was left belonged to the town. So there's been some challenges with some neighbors because there are neighbors that live on Rice City Road that don't want it to go through, and people claim that they own right up to what we believe is the road. And that's been the history on it. So that's a challenge, but it really has nothing to do with this development. It's beyond that. It's a town issue.
I feel it does have something to do with development. You're allowing 6 houses to go in where there's no access.
But this is past that.
They don't have proper access in and out. They have one way in and out. You're allowing them to put a six house subdivision in. So we went through this with Amos Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Cagella wanted to sell a piece of property to Amos Knight, 20 acres, let's call it, give or take. Only one house because the access wasn't adequate. No subdivision.
Mm-hmm. In West Greenwich. Yeah.
So this is what I'm asking you guys to take into consideration. Either find a happy medium with the neighbors where they can get a big enough turnaround, or no subdivision, one lot.
That's going to be addressed. I know Mr. McGee will make sure that
the road also has to be widened to whatever the standard is. This is how we're going to establish where that where that actual boundary is on that road and help the town and fix a
And the
problem.
town made him do that, on Ledge Road, like Mr. Cronin said, on another development, and move the poles. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side like to come up? Come on up. Name and address, please.
Patricia Hawkins, 1172 Plainfield Pike. I said this a little bit last month, of the more developments that happen, the more you're kind of getting rid of what Coventry is like and has always been like. I know, excuse me, it's people's property. They build what they want to build. I just ask you guys to consider the amount of houses, because something that I also learned last month was that you have to try to make it match the surrounding area. How does cramming 6 houses into that small area match the rest of Rice City Road? And even, I mean, I live on 14 and I'm not that close to my neighbor, and I'm on a main drag, not a skinny dirt road. So I just ask you guys to consider making it look like the neighborhood that we have, and cramming 6 houses into that small little section is not what we have, and it doesn't match what we have.
Thank you. Come on up, Mr. Restigia. Name and address, please.
You seem to know me so well.
I got it down.
Thank you. Arthur Restigian, 401 Hopkins Hollow Road in Green. Perfect segue for this woman's comments, because I'm generally here to oppose the project and mostly stand in solidarity with the larger Green neighborhood, because that was exactly my comments, that these kinds of cluster projects are destroying the Coventry way of life, the Western End's way of life. It's just nonstop, continuous deforestation. And as she just said, the cluster housing is more of an urban style building project. Mr. Thornton said the same thing. It's more a West Warwick thing than a Western Coventry kind of thing. And just in particular to both the Hopkins Hollow and the Rice City, and this may be just something I don't understand, but in both of those plans, there's, dozens of deficiencies and dozens of waivers that have been taken. And I'm just not clear why these projects are allowed to go ahead just on the promise, well, they'll do them later. And then no one ever knows if they get done because they're able to go ahead. And so that's my main concern.
Thank you. Thank you. Come on up, Mrs. Restagia.
Seeing you. Good evening, everybody.
But this is not a cluster. This is not a cluster. This is a standard development with a minimum of 5 acres with the 300 feet of frontage. So that's what the comp plan and that's what the zoning plan says. So go ahead. Sorry.
You talking to me?
No, I'm just talking to your husband. He had brought up a cluster, so this is not really deemed a cluster, but go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Donna Restigian, 401 Hopkins Hollow Road, Green, Rhode Island. I'm going to ask you for some clarification, just to get my mind wrapped around all of this. This is owner Pippin Orchard Investments, LLC. So that means that there are people underneath that. And the application request for certificate of completion is signed by John Studley. So are they all one of the same?
I have to let the lawyer take care of that one. Would you like to address that? It's under an LLC, correct?
Pippin Orchard LLC.
Yes.
Is that the same as John Studley, who applied for the certificate of completion?
I have to.
Yep, come on up.
So on the application, it's signed by John Studley, member. He's a member of the LLC, presumably with the authority to sign for the LLC. So Mr. Studley is a member of the LLC, yes.
Okay, so he's got an invested interest in this development. That's all I want to establish.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Mr. Studley has an invested interest in this, and he's the developer of Hopkins Hollow Estates.
Well, we really can't get into.
Well, what I want to do is ask you to decline this master plan until the deficiencies are worked out for his other development.
So I respectfully repeat that request.
You don't have to answer that, Mr. Cronin. You can, but I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
I'd rather not go through the due process clause of the Constitution, but if you want me to, we can hit it up. Yeah, I object. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Come on up, please. Name and address, please.
Bill Gallery, 637 Cahoon Road, Green. I'm up here. I have great concerns about what this project means for Green. It's not technically a cluster development. It's high density. You can't argue that with me. It's high density. It has no place in Green. Nothing else looks like it in Green. I've been in Green for 22 years. I moved there because of the way it is. Now, I realize there's nothing illegal about this project so far, so I can't argue that at all. What I can say, though, is this sets precedent. Look at the developer. This sets a precedent because if you look at the plot maps, 25, maybe 30% of the land in each of the plot is buildable. The rest is wetlands. So if I was a developer, I would say, oh, well, there's my ticket to a lot of money. I just buy up a lot of wetlands, and if I got 20% of land I can build, well, there's my 5 acres. So it's not cluster, so I can come in. My concern is this planning commission, if you approve it, you're setting precedent for other developers to come in and change Green forever. Not only that, it's going to raise taxes, fire, school, road paving. It's already been mentioned before. It's going to be more expensive in Green. We are going to be paying more to live there. That's it for now. Thank you.
I think what he was saying is there's no 5-acre lots in Green. That's what I'm hearing. I beg to differ on that. I don't even think there's 5-acre lots on Hopkins Hollow on some of the frontage lots, but go ahead, sir. Come on up.
Dennis Cole, 161 Lionel Pearson Road, Green, Rhode Island. I'm a little confused. And now, this property has quite a bit of wetland, correct? Is he using wetland to create his 5 acres or 14 acres, whatever he's putting on as that house lot, or has that been cut off of the property? Not buildable? It shouldn't be included in the property.
Well, most of the lots are well more than 5 acres. But
correct. But he has one piece of property there that is 5 exactly.
Our director wants to jump in on that. I'm going to let him jump in.
Just very quickly, the wetlands are not counted as part of the creation of the particular lot. So the 6 lots that are being proposed, the amount of acreage, the minimum lot area is based on buildable area. So the wetlands are discounted from that calculation.
So there's no wetlands that are actually included in the property when the property goes up for sale?
No, the wetlands are part of it, but for the calculation of the number of lots that can go out there, the wetlands are discounted from the ability to be part of that calculation.
For
minimum lot size.
For each lot?
Yep.
So it's not as a conglomerate and then.
Right. So how many acres is out there? So
60.
It's not.
There's 60 acres.
Yeah. So if it's 60 acres, divide that by 5. If it was all buildable, that's the number of lots that they could do subject to the dimensional requirements. In this particular case, because there's wetlands, that's discounted out. So the remaining lands are what you divide by 5, which gives you the conventional number of lots that they can do.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Anybody else like to come up? Come on up. Name and address again, please. I have.
Donna Moore, 225 Rice City Road in Green. I've lived out there for 60 years. I grew up out there, went to Western Coventry School, and there were 4 classrooms. The area has changed drastically. But you're talking a development in Hopkins Hollow, 3 more houses on Lionel Pearson, 6 houses here. I know there's another development going up on 117 west of 102. And that's going to be at least 7 houses. I think the town needs to slow down. Because now you're talking 3, 9, probably 13 houses inside of a year. If they're 3-bedroom houses, you're talking a family with at least 2 kids. Now there's no room in the school. Now the fire department can't keep up. These are all concerns out there because we don't have the regular services like they do in West Warwick or in Providence. We're a rural community. People move out there because that's how they want it. They don't want to see their neighbor. They don't want their neighbor's dog running through their yard. They don't want city. They don't want suburbs. They want the country. They want to get a horse, put it in the backyard, maybe have some chickens without the neighbors complaining. As far as the road goes, it's a narrow road. So it's been a narrow road. We don't want it. I haven't talked to a neighbor yet that wants to see it paved or finished all the way through. If there's a turnaround, there's a turnaround. So be it. That's what the fire department out there is used to. They know how to work under those conditions. They're not city firemen. They know how to fight a forest fire. The other concerns we have are paving that road. A lot of people use it for horseback riding. A lot of the kids use it for their 4-wheelers and their dirt bikes because there's dirt roads out there and we don't have many left. So my concern is that we're turning the west end of Coventry into Washington or Anthony or Quidnick. And people out there don't want to be there. That's not what we want. Don't have an objection to the development. He meets all the requirements. We understand that. We're concerned about what happens after and what happens during construction. There's going to be a lot of dump trucks and trucks in and out and services coming in and out. Are they going to try and build 6 houses all at once or one at a time? Finish one, sell it, build the next one. That would lessen the amount of traffic on the road and the amount of commotion on the road. Right now, the school bus doesn't come down that road. The kids go out to Plainfield Pike to get on the bus. I haven't heard any complaints. The other question I want to ask, and this is probably something Mr. Cronin can answer, when all the registered letters went out for this meeting, who signed for them?
Mr. Cronin, would you like to answer that? It's
Well,
really not my purview on letters.
Sure. Situate Survey actually did the notice on this, but currently the Postal Service is not having the recipients of certified mail sign. That's a COVID protocol that they've established. We do not get signed green cards back unless you have a PO box. Then they'll put it in the PO box. And so it's the returns on each of them is a mixed bag. So it should be, I guess, noted, although this board is well aware of it, that both the state law and the Coventry subdivision regulations say mailed. It's the process of mailing that complies with the regulation and the state law. But anyway, yes, if you have rural delivery, I think is probably the case rather than a PO box or something like that, then they do not return those signatures. The postal worker signs the green card that he put it in your mailbox. That's the current state, and that's federal level.
So my question is, how can they prove that all the people that were supposed to be notified were actually notified?
Doesn't sound like you can. So according to what you said, Mr. Cronin. I mean,
That's correct. That's not
but
the
that's the
standard.
that's the
But
post office.
no, I have a single postal worker, or maybe a couple of them signing these green cards, depending on the mailing area. As you are aware, in Green, the mailing area is quite large. It could be more than one postal worker signing them, but that is how they are returned.
So the postal worker says he did deliver those letters.
That's correct.
So that's who the proof is.
That's not very good proof, especially out there. It could have fallen out of the mailbox. Somebody didn't get theirs. So you have no way of knowing.
No. Thank you. Come on up. You haven't spoke yet.
Hello to all. Robin Petraka, excuse me, 105 Hopkins Hollow Road, Green, Rhode Island. I disagree with him completely because I have gotten the notices. I'm a teacher at Western Coventry. There was a knock on the door in August, and it was the postal delivery man. He came right to my door, asked for my signature, tore off the card, took it with him. That was for one, because one was about the Hopkins Hollow property and the other was about the Rice City property as well. And for the second one, I was back getting ready to start school. And so there was a notice in my mailbox that this had been delivered. Well, they tried to deliver it. I needed to go to the post office and pick it up. So I did. I went to the post office, had to sign the paperwork. So it was as it had been in the past. But I didn't, in the past, I used to get regular notification for things like this. I only received those 2 notifications, and I didn't know. The first I knew about the Rice City, the Hopkins Hollow property, was just with that one notice before the last meeting. And I should have been notified before, I feel. That's my story.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Come on up. Name and address, please.
Patricia Hawkins, 1172 Plainfield Pike. Just to make a comment on what she was saying about the letters. So I accidentally showed up last month because that's when this was supposed to be. And when we came, we were told that the wrong date was sent out and it was continued. Nobody got a new notice that today was the meeting for that. So if you didn't show up accidentally last month for it and were told that it was continued, then you had no idea this was happening. So I really don't think the right amount of people were notified that this was happening.
Thank you. Anybody else like to come up and speak? Okay, seeing none. Herb, anybody on Zoom have their hand up? Anybody on Zoom have their hand up, like to speak for or against this project? No. Nobody on Zoom? Come on up. No, I let everybody speak. Yep.
Donna Restigian, 401 Hopkins Hollow Road, Green, Rhode Island. Based on the controversy of who did and who didn't receive the notifications, what's the process? Can this get continued to another so that the proper notifications go out?
I believe the applicant sent out the proper notifications, but Mr. Cronin, if you would like to answer that.
But based on what Robin said.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But based on what Robin said, she got all the notifications.
She was home though, she said.
Well, when we got notified for the Hopkins Hollow, they left a notice on our door telling us to go to the post office. So there is some kind of notification where you sign for something. So if there's this much controversy and some got it, some didn't, shouldn't this get deferred and have more, the notices go out again?
I can't answer that, but I'm sure the applicant noticed everybody in that perimeter.
So perhaps I wasn't clear enough when I stated it, but both the state law, the Coventry zoning, Coventry subdivision regulations require the applicant to mail the notices. There's no requirement that they be received, that green cards be returned. The requirement is that we identify the proper parties. We provide that list to the planning department, and we mail the notice to those individuals, and that we provide an affidavit of notice that we have done so to the planning department. So that's the standard that we have mailed them. There was, there are certainly things are different in every aspect of our life, but including how mail gets delivered. So we've met the standard. I would object to any kind of continuance or renotice. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, did you have something to say? Come on up and then I'll get to you next. Name and address, please.
Cecil Moore, 220, Cecil, C-E-C-I-L, Moore, 25 Rice City Road, Green. My only objection is to this whole process is the mail, like Mr. Cronin says. If you send out a registered certified letter that requires a signature, and it's supposed to be my signature. If that was from a lawyer or a court or a traffic bureau, and the postman took that card and signed my signature to it and just left it in my mailbox, and for some reason it wasn't there when I got my mail, someone's coming after me saying it was delivered and you signed for it. I don't believe that if you're sending out a letter that you want a return request for, that the postman should be able to tear that off, sign your name to it, and return it. Because that's a legal document at that point. That's requesting that you sign for that letter. So you put a letter, as in the past protocol says, in your mailbox saying you have a registered letter at the post office, you need to go and pick it up and sign for it. So to me, this whole meeting shouldn't even be taking place, because for 2,000 cards that were delivered, if you only got 500 that actually signed, the other 1,500 people just found a letter in their mailbox to come to this meeting and never even signed for it to come here to the meeting was taking place. So I believe this whole meeting should be postponed and the mailing be done properly, like it should have been mailed. Everyone get notified and get that card and return it themselves to the post office. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Durfee, would you like to comment on that? You really are in the process of the mailing. Did the applicant do everything to his due diligence?
Yes, the applicant did do the notifications according to our regulations. And the notice requirements were fulfilled under the Open Meeting Act.
Thank you. Come on up, sir.
Kenneth Cole, 161 Lionel Pearson Road, Green, Rhode Island. I have to disagree. 40 years ago, I built my house. I needed 9 foot of frontage easement. Come to you guys, I had to send out registered letters to all the neighboring addresses in order to proceed. So I don't see how it changed from 40 years ago to now. The other thing is, we got one letter stating that this meeting was supposed to be held last month. We never got a new letter stating that it's going to be this month.
When it's continued, they don't have to remail. And it was continued from last month. And I just built a house last year. I mailed out 6 abutters. I went to the town. I paid the fee. I don't know if the people got them, but that's the system that Mr. Durfee just explained. So, I mean, the applicant, how can they be held accountable for that? I don't know how they can. Because I did it the same way.
Whoa.
I don't know if all the 6.
If I go to build a house tomorrow in Coventry, and you require me to send letters to all the abutters.
Yes.
And I just say I sent them.
No, you have to. The town sends them. I just paid the bill. The town sends them.
Okay, so why did I have to
I don't know. Maybe different regulations back then.
to send registered letters when I built
They are registered letters.
from the town?
Yes.
Okay, so the town was wrong on when this meeting was supposed to be held?
It got continued from last month. That's all I can say. And you don't have to get re-notified on a continuance. That's in the regulations. I mean, everything was followed and met. Mr. Durfee just.
It wasn't
testified to that.
continued, it was a mistake.
It was
No.
continued.
Was it? Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? We're getting very repetitious here. I mean, I've been continue to allow this to go on, but is there anybody else that wants to speak? Anybody on Zoom? Anybody have their hands up on Zoom? Okay, seeing no hands, make a motion to close public hearing.
Make a motion, we close public
I
hearing.
have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Elderkin. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, public hearing is now closed. Okay, anybody on the board would like to ask the applicant any questions?
I got one question.
Go ahead, Mr. Reyes.
Mr. Cronin, on lot, for the turnaround, on lot 84, is there a house built on that lot? I can't tell on this. Because that's where the turnaround would be a lot. Is it across the street, lot 84? Is there a house on across the street from it? It would be across the street from lot number 5.
There are houses across the street from that lot, yes.
All right, no. I want to see how far it's going down for the turnaround. There's no houses being built past the end of the road.
There are
So-
houses past, say, for instance, Mr. Reed. So you come in from Rice City.
Yes.
This way, and this is our last lot. There
Yes.
are in fact a couple houses.
So you're inside of the other side. Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
I think that Mr. McGee wants to turn around essentially right there.
Okay. All right.
Good, on our land.
It makes sense.
Yeah. I could be wrong.
It does make sense, so that would be on your lot. Because you're gonna help to upgrade that turnaround. If not, it would be on the town. You'd have to use fair share development fees, which you could use to approve roads that are not on your property. Any other questions? The applicant, go ahead.
So I have to ask you a couple of questions. So hearing what people are saying and their concerns, they don't want cookie cutter neighborhoods popping up. Are there some assurances that could be put in place so that this development, because it does meet the requirements, it's the 5 acres, it does meet the requirements. Is there some way that we could appease the people of the area to make it so some of these setbacks are staggered a little bit, maybe doing a curved driveways? Is there some way we can take what people are saying and make this a little more appealing to them? Big question, sorry.
Yeah, kind of too big for me to answer. I mean, like the suggestion of the curved driveways is something that we can handle. You know, staggering the depths of the houses, as you suggest, is something that we can handle. As to what the folks that live in Green, all across Green, want to appear on Rice City Road, I don't think I could really speculate on that. But if this board has the ability to place contingencies upon this master plan approval, whether I like them or not, right? And you know, we're mature, right? This is what we do for a living. If that's what the board wishes to do, then, you know, we'll proceed under that guidance. But I couldn't really interpret what it is exactly that they're looking for.
Well, I think based on hearing most people, that was a big concern. The road is obviously another concern, which again has nothing to do with your actual development, except for developing in the area that you're working in, not cutting through. I understand that has nothing to do with you. That's a town issue. So I'm saying let's meet them somewhere in this. It's obvious that this is meeting all of the said guidelines because it's within the acreage that's needed for the areas. So let's give them a little bit of coverage. Let's get some more trees in there. Let's cover up some of that. So it looks a little more wooded when they're driving down the road. It doesn't look like there's a house every 5 feet, so to speak. That's my suggestion, my thought process.
Touching the buffer in front of the house.
Well, the driveway and always drainage with the driveway. So, 15.
They're not saying street trees. There's going to be street trees.
Right. Well, I mean, it's up to the board, as Mr. Chairman is well aware, up to the board.
I don't want to plant street trees because I like to see the trees that are there now. Plant street trees,
I mean,
see that they don't.
You're right. It looks.
But I understand what the people are saying. So now we got to a point where they are 5 acre minimum lots. That's what the comp and that's what the zoning plan asks for. The developer is not asking for relief. He's going to address the gravel road. I mean, at this point, if we can stagger the homes, that's a good idea. And I'm sure the developer will, and you will do that because you have room to stagger. So they're not in a straight line.
Right. I don't think that's
I don't think that.
I mean, it's unlikely that the topography would even allow that.
You don't know.
Right. Yeah.
The house is going anyway.
Right. Until we get the OWTS. It's the same story that I come up here and I tell you every month. It's DEM, right? They decide where the house goes, not us. Right.
I wanted my house.
We start with the septic system and build it out from there. Right.
So that would be a stipulation we could put in. So they're not all the same. 150, 120. There's always this bag.
Yeah, I'm just, I just couldn't really respond to Ms. Eldrick's inquiry in the sense of interpreting what the folks in Coventry want. Yeah. So, those are welcome suggestions.
Thank you. Good point. Anybody else?
I do, Ron.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. Well, for Mr. Cronin, while the property is being developed and the houses are being built, it is a gravel road, as we know, and it's a narrow gravel road. And it was brought up by a few of the neighbors that live past that the developer could maintain the road until construction is done, because unlike a paved road, when you have 10-wheel dump trucks and triaxles going in and out and they're twisting and turning, they will chew up the road quite a bit because it's a gravel road. If the developer could take care of that on a regular basis so it doesn't get all rutted out and potholed out, so the people that live beyond that would still have a good road surface until it was done and the town accepted it. Just maintain the road because, like I said, a soft gravel surface, it's going to get torn up from construction.
So based on experience, especially with Ledge Road and a couple of these gravel roads in town, the roads, just like a paved road, Mr. Smith, it's widened, it's prepped, so that we know where the driveways are going and how wide the road's actually going to be with the right of way, whose land is getting used for that road, those kind of things. So I don't think that's an onerous request because they'll be, quite frankly, working on it so that they can get the proper dimensions for building. But they have to widen the road first, essentially, at least work on it.
Correct. But at the end of the day, if it's kind of chowed up, that they get out there with a machine and just kind of regrade it so the people that live beyond it don't have to deal with that. Just a courtesy.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Sure.
Thank
as
you.
long as you agree to supervise, Mr. Smith.
I'm retired.
I'll go. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Chairman?
Oh, go ahead.
So I know you're a brilliant guy, Tom. So you're not writing any of this down because I'm feeling that we probably have to bring all this discussion back at preliminary. These suggestions, like, do we have to repeat and list this of, say, our wants and our perspective on this?
No, Mr. Anderson, I think my impression from Mr. Chairman that these would be stipulations in the master plan decision.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can remember them for a couple of minutes.
Right. For a little bit. But I do got a couple follow-up questions, and it's easy. And I know it's probably not the time, but and somebody can answer this, but is there a governing body in this town that does vet the threshold of peoples and houses that go up in District 1 that say, hey, we need more fire apparatus. We need more, I think we have District 1 has one full-time firefighter, and that's the chief. Right. So at what point do we two? We got two. So at what point who makes that decision with all these houses? I don't know. I don't know if anyone knows that.
So I do know.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So there's a comprehensive plan process, and it's actually going on in this town right now. They have hired a consultant. The planning department is the liaison to the town council, and they have community meetings like in District 1. What do you want District 1 to look like? And that consultant takes that and doesn't accept it, 100%, meshes it with the economic development plan for the town and the transportation plan for the town and the agricultural plan for the town, forestry plan for the town. And what comes out of that is the comprehensive plan. Mr. Rasijan knows that thing inside and out, right? But ours is old, right? But they are working on that as we speak. They've engaged an engineering firm who has begun that process. A couple of planners ago, they started that. It kind of fizzled, but they just re-upped it. So if you want, a say in what your neighborhood looks like, you go to those early meetings where they're making those lists about what you want things to look like. And when they finish that comprehensive plan, probably, I can't guarantee this, they'll redo the zoning ordinance and they'll redo the subdivision regulations. Right? Fingers crossed.
Right. And that was my point, that this is going on. And I don't know how many residents know about it, but they can have a say in it, especially the District 1 residents. And maybe change it, maybe influence it. And I just wanted to put it out there in this forum. And just back to the cistern, which I think is needed. I think it's going in, right? But if that does go in, is the cistern be used for, like, if the house across the street goes up in flames? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
No, don't touch that. That's our water. I don't want to. All right, that's all.
They in some communities, Mr. Anderson, they do have to lock them, but I haven't seen that around here yet.
We hope we will buy it. Anybody else? Okay, I'll entertain the motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion. Just motion to approve this master plan and just move it to preliminary. And this is for Rice City Estates. The owner applicant is Pippin Orchard Investors. This is AP. This is plat 320, lot 77, zoned RR5, and it's 60.93 acres. The proposed use is a 6-lot subdivision. I'd like to note that this motion is based on, in part, that, the intended subdivision will incorporate 6 individual family homes, 1 on each lot has drawn up. I just also like to note in this motion, the now down to 25 bullet points, on the list on pages 48 in the staff report that, will be needed for the preliminary stage, as we already discussed. And it's just as far as, I had a few of them, but as far as my findings of facts to move this forward, is a criteria of the compatibility with the comprehensive plan, specifically regarding District 1 and the zone of RR5. Each lot here, it meets the requirement of 5 acres, some a lot larger. The analysis also is that each lot meets the 300-foot frontage All setbacks are easily met. And, this plan, this project, according to the comprehensive plan, is really not going to affect the rural character of District 1. My other one, and is several I'm going to name too, the compatibility to the existing lots, and it's been discussed. But District 1, zoned RR5 has several homes under 5 acres and several more than 5 acres. So this development has shown in this, in this project is in line with the surrounding homes. And I'll just incorporate the staff report in my motion.
Stipulation. Like to do any setback on the housing development.
Yes.
And also the curb driveway.
Right. So this is the time for it, I guess. So the stipulation of, the curved driveways added to this motion. And again, house is not in line, right? Houses that you go as far back maybe as possible. I know there's wetlands that might restrict that. And those were the two stipulations, I think, that were. And then, yes, maintain the road during construction.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carry.
Thank you.
Second. You're on the direct. We'll have public comment after the direct.
Thank you for that.
You can wait for Mr. Murphy, anything on the direct report?
I just want to report.
Excuse me, gentlemen, the meeting's not over.
Leave, he just. Go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you. I just want to report that on October 12th at from 6 to 8 on a Zoom meeting will be the next public forum or public workshop with regard to the comprehensive plan. There'll be additional notification that's coming out, but I just wanted to make sure that for those that are on the camera and here tonight, and for you folks, Wednesday, the 12th, 6 to 8, and it'll be on Zoom. If you go off to the town webpage, at the home page, there's a comprehensive plan link. Click on there, and the Zoom link is right under the schedule.
Okay.
And then that's all I have to report for.
Question about the finding of fact. Yep. I emailed that to you today.
Yep.
I know when I was making motions, I don't make motions now, but finding the fact, and some of these applications tonight had the finding of fact, it makes it much easier to get the information for the board members to make a motion. I'm fearful of taking the finding of fact out for two reasons. On a compliment, sometimes the finding of facts are 3 pages long. To ask one of us that work full time to come and review the comp and zoning, come up with finding of fact, to me is a lot to ask for someone on the board.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I think if you look closely at the staff report, I've asked that the applicant provide a narrative with their perspective as to how those findings would be met based on the criteria in the subdivision. Knowing that there was going to be some emotion tonight, I wanted to make sure that there was a level of solicitation of the applicant to provide such information to help when we get to preliminary plan, where you would have a more succinct level of findings of fact provided to you.
The finding of facts are going to stay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That was my concern.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for the director? All right. We have public comment. Would you like to come up to public comment?
He answered my question about the date.
Okay.
I was curious because.
Come on up there.
I do have that responsibility.
Go to those, please. Go to those and get involved.
So name and address, please.
My name is Jessica Lichtenberg. I live at 10 Reservoir Road. Myself and my husband have lived there since 2010. I had this little 3-minute spiel. It's 3 minutes. It's going to be quick. But I wanted to address some things that Mr. Cronin mentioned about the site. I don't know if it's plan review. There's. I'm talking about J.W. Studley's illegal processing of mulch. I understand that. I was hoping he'd be in the room. Mr. Cronin stated that the mulching operations will be located only on the industrial side of the property, which currently has a residential home, large garage, and wood cutting equipment. So I'm not sure what the plan is to switch from the wood cutting to general business, but the industrial side is about half the size of the general business side. So to put that over there and to put the grinder between those two buildings and then shooting at the garages right on the other side, it's not going to work. You'll see it when you get there. I'm nervous, so my voice shakes. So where was I? He stated also that the mulching operations would only be happening 3 times a year. I wanted him to clarify, is that 3 days? Because that's okay, great. I'm all for that. 3 days a year, fabulous. I can deal with that. But it's more like 3 months out of the, 3 seasons of the year. It starts in the spring, all through the summer, and into the fall. So I really wanted him to clarify what that actually meant. I have to say that if he did state that it was only happening 3 days out of the year, it's absurd, ridiculous, and not the truth. So from there, I will go on to my 3-minute spiel, and I'll make it quick. Yep. Good evening. John Studley has been running an unpermitted, unapproved mulch processing site across from our home for 10 years. In those 10 years, he has been made fully aware and informed on what is expected of him to be in compliance with the zoning codes. This can be proven by documents sent to him from the zoning department and can be found at the town clerk's office. The grinding of wood chips, stumps, logs, branches, and whole tree trunks in front of a sidewalk to a school, public road, and private residences is absolutely reckless behavior. Flying debris from the grinders is a public and private safety issue. The odors of exhaust of the grinders, skid steers, bobcats, the consistent idling of commercial vehicles in the parking lot, the intense odor of 40 to 50 to 60 foot mold and fungus filled, smoldering, rotting wood chip piles, wood dust and noise have prevented me from opening any of the windows in the front of my home or the sides of my home. So I can only open 6 windows for 10 years just in the back of my home. No sidewalls, no front, not at all. The noise created by the grinder has been proven to not be within the acceptable industrial standards. John Studley has proven himself incapable of being in compliance with the size of his wood chip pile. His allowance size is 12 feet. He is currently 3 times that amount, and that is small into comparison into how big he allows the pile to get. The pile has never been properly managed. He does not possess the equipment on site to assist the fire department with turning the pile in a timely manner to extinguish a fire. On May 17th, the pile was burning, and his employees spent 2 days using portable water deliveries in an attempt to put it out, leaving the pile unattended overnight on the 17th and the 18th without ever calling the fire department. On May 19th, multiple residents called the fire department, and the fire department spent all day putting out the fire. On May 21st, the chip pile flared up again, and it took multiple Coventry fire departments to put out the fire, along with the help of a private citizen who donated their time and their equipment. Turning, separating, and applying a massive amount of water is the only way to put out a large wood chip pile fire. The grinding of wood and the storage of wood chips at this location does not meet lot percentages, does not meet the industrial standards. This has directly affected my family's quality of life, how and when we can spend any time outside, the air we breathe while we do, an inability to open the windows of our home, and excessive wear and tear from the 10 years our home has vibrated. This also directly affects our home's property value. There are 3 businesses in Coventry who have permitted rights and appropriate zoning to use outdoor industrial grinders. Number 1 is Warwick Tree Service, zoned industrial on 5.42 acres. Number 2 is Mulch and More, zoned industrial on 16.33 acres. And number 3 is Pasternak Asphalt, zoned industrial on 7.5 acres. And in closing, John Studley is operating. And when I say 0.93 acres, I mean the general business side, because this is the side he operates his mulching business on. The industrial side is grandfathered in for his wood splitting company, Tree Service. So John Studley is operating on 0.93 acres zoned for general business. 0.93 acres is not an appropriate lot size for an endeavor this large. and puts the public, private residents, and abutting properties at risk and directly affects the quality of life and property values of all abutting residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have any public comment? Jessica? Come on up. Name and address.
Edward Cole, 1172 Plainfield Pike. This goes back to the Lionel Pearson Estates. That subdivision, those wetlands been taken out of those 5-acre lots? They will be, is that correct?
Can't comment. We can take it into consideration. We can't comment.
I thought it was taken out of Rice City because it's part of the DEM code.
Public comment.
Okay.
Take it into consideration. Just make what the point you will and, not direct it.
Okay, well, that's the point, is I'd like to make sure that they're held to the same standard.
Anybody have their hands up on Zoom for public comment? Nobody.
Nobody on Zoom.
Okay. Okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, folks.
Somebody's got jokes.